And we're back. Welcome in, everybody. Trust is a little hungry. He's going to take a quick little snacky snack before we start. If you guys didn't see earlier, he was outside blacksmithing some numbers. We had a request from one of our old clients in Washington. They're coming down and visiting us on April 15th, I believe. 14th. And their anniversary is coming up, so she wanted Lamont to do something, blacksmith something. So I was like, oh, a clock would be great. And we're gonna mount him on. I'm gonna try to find some like old barn wood if I can, and mount him on that, and then do something with resin, maybe their last name or something, which will be fairly easy because their last name is not very long, and then it'll be a gift. I'm freezing. I know the heater's on. Oh, okay, good. So yeah, he made pot holder for somebody we met in Denver, and I think I still have pictures. Oh, Chrome, that would be a great idea if I could find one. And then I have to figure out how to mount the clockwork mechanical piece on it, though. That still might work, though, the old wagon wheel. That'd be huge, though. Uncle Chrome said an old wagon wheel. That'd be dope, but they're kind of big, though. Yeah, Crazy Rabbit. Trusto is very hungry. He didn't eat anything before he started the project, and he was out there for a few hours. So I was like, oh, a clock. Forge the number, blacksmith the numbers. And you don't have to do all the numbers, because a lot of clocks don't have all the numbers. They just have the horizontal and vertical numbers. So you would only have to do the 12, 3, 6, and 9. Oh yeah, Steve said get the smaller front wheel. Yeah, I'm gonna go on Facebook. They have like a marketplace for our area and see what's out there. I love the whole repurposing things when it comes to craft. When making things, I've repurposed so many things. People go and buy the bottles to put like their olive oil or cooking oil in, to pour them out of like the little spout thing. I just took an old bottle of Jack Daniels. Was it Jack Daniels? That bottle that I have in there for our cooking oil, is that yeah. No, Jameson, yeah. So I took an old bottle of Jameson and just put our avocado oil in there that we cook with, and put the spout in that, and it works perfect. Repurposed it. Didn't have to buy a bottle for it. I love repurposing stuff.
What up, Dallas? Uncle Chrome, Crazy Rabbit, Tavy the Hug Monster, Monkey Munga, Steve. Is Viral already in?
Yes, he is.
Is he waiting in the back room?
He is waiting in the banana room. I've coined it the banana room, okay. Not the green room, not backstage.
Just get a couple of more bites.
It's the banana room, because this is Monkey Island and all, right? It's full of bananas, and I'm sure Mr. Beats over there has eaten them all. Yeah, but the sound and the quality came out really good.
I hope so.
Yeah, the phone was tied into the Wi-Fi for the studio,
Mm.
and then you weren't really moving around,
Mm-mm.
so it didn't have. I think on the when you were on the lawnmower that one day, it kept bouncing between the Wi-Fi's between the house
Yeah.
and the studio, so that's why it kept cutting out really bad. Crazy Rabbit said, better than the banana hammock. Getting peeled in the banana room.
Pizza or a burger. I'm starving.
I bet you are. People don't realize how much exertion you make when you're blacksmithing. You're in front of that heat, and then you're pounding steel.
That little forge inside tent is 2,300 degrees.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Steve, he knows. The image is reversed on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was fun. That was a good and Saren made a little cameos. he kept seeing you through the window out there, and he kept whining. So I was like, "Hey, go have fun with Dad. Go see what Dad's doing."
Yeah, I was just hoping it all came out well.
Mm-hmm. It did.
Let's not leave Viral in the banana room too long. Let's go ahead and bring him in and put this shit down.
Alrighty, let's bring in Mr. Beats himself.
To goats eat bananas?
Mm.
They would if it came down to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Garbage and shit.
How you doing, Byro?
Doing all right.
Did you have fun at the that record place yesterday?
Yeah, Jesus Christ. This thing right here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I bet.
And the artwork matches my personality perfect. I used to do
Mm.
graffiti just like this. I used to do my lettering just like this, and I used to draw little caricatures just like that.
Yeah, I used to do wild styles too on trains and
Trains.
parks and stuff, and had like 42 different size tips and created my own.
Let's not incriminate ourselves.
We're not.
We're
Uncle
not.
Chrome said. Uncle Chrome said, "Still that
Shit was
forge is
30 years ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
Still that forge is kind of small for body disposal. That's why you get pigs." Speaking about not incriminating yourself.
It is crazy still seeing some of my work on trains after like 5-10 years or something. I'll be looking at trains. I'll be like, oh shit. And I'll remember exactly where I did it at or whatever. Like, it's just crazy. It lives on forever. Uh-oh, Destructo's in the house.
And Destructor said, "No hat? He thought you were bald under there."
Yeah, I wonder if some of my old stuff is still posted up in Long Beach and Carson, Torrance, and.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
It's crazy because those trains go everywhere. So like, and there's so much graffiti on them. They don't take them off or anything like that. There's no incentive to do it. It's not cost effective. Some of them don't like it. They take it off immediately, but most of them don't.
We call it the mobile art show.
Yeah, other than that, we're still waiting on this FedEx. Little Tussin just woke up 5 minutes before getting on, so that's perfect. He can listen out for the door. It's his NPC anyway, so
Oh, shit.
good on him. Yeah.
Fredro Star, that one you posted in Discord, was that an NPC he was working on?
Yeah, that was an NPC 1. It wasn't even a plus, so he's been getting down on that for a minute.
Yeah, he was cooking on that thing.
Yeah, he did all right. The whole 5 Dynasty was like, I don't like the beat. It's just like, well, he's just cooking,
Yeah.
I'm sure it comes out sounding totally different in the end, but he posted up again another one after that, so he's getting it in.
Yeah.
A lot
Who
of
else?
these hip hop heads are starting to show their faces, especially this year. They're like, hey, wait a minute, why can't I have a moment like that? My shit's top notch.
Right? Yeah. Well, a lot of people now are starting to realize the music industry has gotten much bigger, and people can do it themselves without being signed.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get this started, but let me get this hoodie on real quick, and we'll get the program going.
It's cold, isn't it? It's very cold. Twin Cities Oxygen, welcome in. Wagyu. Davey. Davey, when are you going to sit in the hot seat? Huh, Davey? Huh? Vicky, welcome in. How you doing, Vicky? And Destructo.
I'm glad to see Destructo showing up in the chat over here as of lately, becoming more comfortable hanging out.
Dallas was sorry, what up?
No, I was gonna say I got a controversial hot take about people's YouTubes and Destructo. If you ain't got Destructo in the chat,
it ain't happening.
Yeah.
Dallas is in Virginia, babe.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
No, I thought Dallas was in Long Island somewhere.
No, I'm pretty sure on the other live he said he was in VA. When you were doing
when I was watching Church of Dallas.
when you were blacksmithing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said you should come down to VA in Norfolk. Norfolk. I can never say
Norfolk.
that. Thank you. Destructo said, I'm
very
very
elusive."
elusive.
That's what I was laughing at. Understatement of the century.
Oh, Dallas says you pronounce it Norfolk.
Norfolk. Well, shit. Welcome in, everybody. We got, did you go? Since Samurai just came in.
Yep,
Me and J.
Ian.
Cole, thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
Dallas, the man with the joint on his lips that is actually now stuck to his lips as we currently speak.
It'll forever live on his lips.
Chrome. Okay. All right.
Oh, they get angry if you say folk. Oh, shit. Okay. Norfolk.
Really?
Yeah.
If you
All
say
right. So,
Norfolk?
yeah,
If you say
I guess
Norfolk,
I did.
If you say
Shit.
like Norfolk, you have to say it fuck.
You have to say fuck.
Norfolk.
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 Norfolk it is.
Norfolk. If you say it fast, you know it sounds great. Simon Great Bitch is in the house, aka Fat Dad.
PH, by the way.
Always a PH.
Yeah, PH.
Or Fick. Or
Fick or
Norfolk.
Feck. God damn.
Norfolk. Norfolk.
Y'all,
Norfolk.
y'all are sensitive motherfuckers out there, aren't ya? Gotta be real specific.
Steve said, I'll demonstrate pronunciation next time.
There's a little bouncing ball.
With that accent.
Right? Shit. Okay. Are we still early in the hour? Welcome back to the podcast. And today we have the one, the only, who understands when I say I only listen to real hip hop, who understands when I say I don't listen to the negativity of what they consider what hip hop should be. 90% of the shit you hear on the radio is whack. It's materialistic. And I got a word for them people, and they're nothing but a bunch of niggas running wild. And we don't buy that. We don't listen to it, and we definitely don't play it on our station. The one and only Viral Beats.
Bye.
AKA Cyrus. The Warriors did it.
Virus too, you gotta remember that one. I was trying to shuffle between my names. I was like, man, I got like 4 pseudonyms. I'm like, what do I do here? I was like, let's just go with Mr. Beats. That's what Robbie's kind of coined that phrase here, and I kind of like Mr. Beats.
Yeah. Viral. Now, for those of you, and make sure we get Viral's link up for his channel. For those of you who do not know and who do not follow Viral as much as you can,
Shame on you.
he told he told a phenomenal story on how he grew up, what hip hop has meant to him in his life, and some crazy stories, man. If you did not catch him, please go to Viral Beats' channel, look it up. The dude has been through a lot. Our lifestyles are pretty similar, to be honest. And it will truly impress you on what this man is and what he's capable of.
I appreciate that.
So check that out.
You want to hear something funny about the connection here? And I mentioned it in the chat when you were doing your thing there. Knowing my family's history and writing a book about it, my 9th generation great-grandfather came into this country as a blacksmith by trade.
Oh, no shit.
Before he became a freeman, that's what he was. And in 1638, when he became a freeman and inherited his land or whatever that he got in exchange for his servitude, he became a land developer afterwards. But he was in London, educated, and blacksmith by trade, came over on the boat 1634. And, my family history, it's blacksmiths, clergy, military men, and musicians.
Oh, wow.
The synchronicity on that, right? That's wild.
That's insane.
Yeah,
all the way up until Washington. Some of the other relatives here were blacksmiths before cars became a thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, pounding at it. It's something about pounding iron and trying to break its will, and you take it in the direction you want it to go, because essentially that's what you're doing. You're breaking the will of the iron, and you can get lost in it. You can.
Well, it's so rhythmic. Rhythmatic.
Yeah, you develop a rhythm behind it.
It's meditation.
It is. I get lost in it. And I know when we did the live today with that, it's constantly having you think, because every time you put a piece of steel in that forge, you have to come out with a plan or you lose the heat. And it's that, in the blacksmith game, you don't want to waste your heat because it costs you money.
Yep.
So, but enough about that. We got Viral Beats finally in the house for an interview. I know my brother really wanted to be here for the Viral Beat interview, but it's okay. Well, we're going to have him back. We're going to have everyone back who's done one. So threat not. Viral, you know how this goes. You know where we start. I know there's a lot you can say on the childhood, but let's save something for people to go to your channel and encourage them to listen to the full story. But and you're probably the only person I could say this to that's been on the show, is quickly run us down young Viral and what was being played in the household and how you grew up and what the parents were like and what they were playing. What do you remember? What's the first thing you remember?
Well, this is going to kind of be bugged out here. My family has a thing, and I thought it was just with me. Actually, I first thought that everybody had it. I thought it was a standard of living here. I remember absolutely everything that has ever occurred in my life. I remember all the way back to, my dad changing my diapers. I remember earlier than that laying on the floor when I wasn't even able to walk. I remember everything. And I did some hypnotherapy when I was like 23, I think it was. And I dug even deeper into that and went back to the womb.
So like mental regression, something like that?
No, I was trying to accomplish something specific, and it was because I was losing my music. I was getting lost in my life and kind of losing the passion that I had for making music. And I wanted to get back to that. And what I was discovering was the reason why I was losing that passion. I was still like expressing and experiencing like the astral projection stuff. So like I was journeying outward or whatever, which is the opposite. It's like going out of body and doing all that stuff is the furthest journey inward that you could go. And it's just like one of those things to where when you're doing music, it's a very outward, expressive, physical thing. So those two things, if you're doing one, you're lacking in the other, or the types of music and all that other stuff. I didn't understand all that in my point of evolution. I thought I could do both at the same time, and I could just snap my way back into it through hypnotherapy, and it just didn't work. But to answer your question here, My bad. I'll try not to do that.
You're good.
My mom and dad would go to concerts when she was pregnant. So she said that I was always bouncing around in her belly during concerts. So that was the start of it. Now I don't remember that. I do when I went through hypnosis. I did remember a point in the womb, but it was a very specific time period, and I never remembered like, I remembered everything from that or whatever. It was just, that moment. But my parents grew up, I was born in 81, so like they already had the sound systems, the big speakers that were taller than me in the house. The first thing that I remember musically, though, is Owner of the Lonely Heart by Yes. And that was because such a big single. And during the time, my dad, that was his favorite band, was Yes. And so blasting that album all the way through the apartment. Actually, I was born in Arizona, in Phoenix, but then after my little brother was born a couple years later, we moved up here for a couple years. My dad went back down, and then we followed after a while and made a brief pit stop in Nevada, where I went to kindergarten and first grade. And then we came back in Phoenix, where we ended up the rest of our lives. But yeah, through the house, it was always big synthesizers like Keith Emerson and, Rick Wakeman and, all those types. And, my dad would listen to War, and a lot of funk and soul and stuff like that. And just a blend of the most abstract type of music that you could listen to on big sound systems. So that was later on, not only because my environmental circumstances, but also planting that seed is one of the reasons why I gravitated towards gangster rap later on in my life, because that same synthesis and West Coast stuff and them sampling stuff, the Funky Worm and all that. I just gravitated towards it, and just the dialect was just people talking in the neighborhood. It was just something that I was already familiar with, so it was a lateral transition for me, and it seemed weird to the square community for a white kid in the suburbs or whatever, moving around from place to place to be into the hip hop as much as I was or whatever. But if you look back on it, retrospectively, it was quite the lateral transition going from one to the other. But yeah, that's the long and short of it.
Was Dad into hip hop?
Yes, he was into hip hop as in its original form, like early 80s hip hop. When it first came out, he didn't dig into it, but I heard a lot of stuff, and but he didn't have records like he had prog. He was a prog man for sure. That was his bag.
Do you have any siblings?
Oh yeah, I got 2.5 brothers. So I got my older brother, who's looks like me except for the mole, and I'm bigger than him though, so a lot of people mistook me for the older brother. But I'm the middle child, and my younger brother is a year and a half younger than me, and way different, skinny, and he's actually taller than me now though. But yeah, and then my half brother, when I was 9 years old, when he was born. That's a whole thing. But yeah, they all live up here. They actually, all three of them moved up here right after my oldest was born. So they came by and saw him for the first time when he was just out of the hospital because he was premature, 3 pounds, 13 ounces, 32 weeks. So he's in the hospital for about 15 days or so. And then, it was about probably a week and a half or so after getting him home that, my mom and my brothers and, biological grandmother, who I never saw or whatever, and had conflict with. They all came by and said goodbye as they were heading up here to the Pacific Northwest, and that was when they got to see my youngest, who is now 24 years old, so old gang.
Yeah. Does your siblings watch your YouTube channel? And by the way, did you get up some a video for Viral Beats yet? You got one queued up?
I can, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You guys could put, if you guys want to, you guys could put the thing that I have unlisted.
Do you want to send me that link?
I haven't made it public yet. Yeah, it's on my Discord. Yeah, I could send it to you too. It's on my Discord in the exclusive stuff or whatever. Because it'd be kind of nice to get everybody else's opinion who didn't hear it as well. Because
just post it in the private chat in here in Streamyard.
Okay, let me.
That's the one I just heard recently, correct?
Yes.
You just released it. Yeah, that shit is dope.
Well, I didn't technically release it. I'm getting the master locked down, and my ears haven't been in the best of condition to do any mastering. So I wanted to retake it as my ears got a little better. But it was the first
Why
pass
is that?
on it.
Sick, cold?
Yeah, well, the weather has allergies. I had no allergies at all in my life.
Until you moved to Washington.
Well, technically, I guess, because so this is it. My dad had allergies real bad, and I didn't make fun of him, but I was always like arrogant about it and like, haha, looks like it skips a generation, old man type of shit, And the day I hit 35 years old, allergies like crazy on my birthday, and it was like, oh shit. And then like all of a sudden ever since, and so I guess being up here was a big part of it, because I've been here since I was 33, then went down there back to Phoenix for 8 months and fought a custody battle, developed my first herniated disc, and then came back up here. So I was like 34, 35 years old when I was here permanently. But the weather has changed dramatically. Like it was 71 yesterday, and it's raining. I think the high is in the 50s today.
Oh yeah, we remember that weather.
Yeah,
it's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Fall is my favorite season here.
Yeah, I just love when it always rained. Like and then to see those trees and fresh air and the bloom. Oh
the
my
fall
God.
Bloom.
Yeah.
The fall bloom's the shit. I love that, because like it's like this bushiness before the cold just wipes it all out or whatever. And the spring's always real brief. Like probably around the time that you guys left here, it's like the past 4 or 5 years here. It's been like weirdly like it gets springtime or whatever, and then some dramatic windstorm just blows it all. So all those blossoms, cherry blossoms and stuff like that, they only stay for like a week maybe at that, instead of like a month or two like they used to. Like they used to carry on for like 3 to 5 weeks. And now they're wiped out before they even get started. Like some of them don't even have a chance to turn color, so they're like white or red. They don't fall being pink, or they some of them they get out when they're pink. They never turn red, and then it's just crazy how the weather has been here. But I still love it. It's great. Yeah.
So, in your teenage years, what was it? Were you into hip hop? Were you into music? Were you starting to think, okay, I could start doing this now and getting my stuff out? Did you start that young, or did it come a little bit later?
Okay, so back up real quick. I was 8 years old when I knew that I would be doing hip hop music, and I knew exactly what style of hip hop. L.O. Cool J's I'm Bad, Bigger and Deffer. That beat, no rapper can rap quite like I can. I take a muscle-bound man and put his face in the sand. Just don't, that hit. Like, I was 8 years old. That came out a couple years before then, but when I was 8 years old, I think that's when Mama Said Knock You Out came out.
Oh, and,
yeah, so L.O. Cool J, they used to do these blocks on MTV where they would play like 3 or 4 music videos of one artist, and they would play LL Cool J would be one of those artists. He already by then had 6 music videos out. And then, but it was Yo MTV Raps during that era that
I
played
remember
that.
Yo MTV Raps.
Yeah, so I used to collect the Yo MTV Raps cards and like see who'd win in a battle, like baseball cards and shit like that. Like my is my first like real black friend or whatever. Like real, like I never was cultured like that being around, but it was not abnormal to me at all. It was just like, hey, I didn't even think about any of that stuff until a couple years later when somebody brought that shit up, and my grandpa actually hit me with the racism with the MC Hammer tape at 9 years old, and that's when I found out some of my grandfather's proclivities. But we'll get to that in a second. Yeah, it's just not knowing during the time, but just really immersing myself into the music. I knew that I was going to be doing music, but I figured out right then and there that that it would be this type of music. And at 13 years old, I wrote my first rap. So it's been officially 30 years since I first put pen to paper.
Mm-hmm.
And I already, by 15 years old, was performing in the battle circuit. I was already doing house parties, getting the mic passed to me from 21-year-old MCs. So it was great to be able to. A lot of times I couldn't get my bars off because people would look at me and I looked like I was 16, so I could get it in some circles. But for the most part, the older cats, I had to wait my turn. And then being white, during that time, everything was a reference to Vanilla Ice or whatever. So I would get into fist fights over having better bars,
So was it the age of 13 when you knew for sure, or was it younger?
You said 8, I think.
8?
I used to listen to the radio and picture myself on the stage. I knew at an early age that I'd be doing music, but 8 years old was like this style.
That's crazy.
What I'm doing now.
It didn't come off the tracks.
Yeah.
Stayed on the tracks.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. The music that I'm doing now is the music that I thought that I would be doing then. And I
Right.
never knew the trajectory that it would end up being there. But I had a profound moment happen to me when I was locked up, and you guys could get into questioning after that. But the first time when I was 13 years old, also, that was the first time I was locked up, and I spent a month inside. And it was during that time I had this dream, and I was in my cell, and it's really inhumane when you're that young and being locked up. It's worse than being in adult jail. Maybe not with the aggressive violence and all that other stuff, your life being in jeopardy, but they lock you down longer and you have more restrictions. You can't talk to people. You have to sit on a wall, like it's messed up. So you spend the first couple weeks really locked down, like 23-hour type shit. You only get out to take a shower, and with the rest of the group, so like a lot of time to reflect. But it was when I got into a unit, because once you figure out where you're going to go after you have that initial court date and how long you're going to be in there, they put you in a unit depending on what your age is. And once they got me into a unit, I had this, what I thought was a dream. And I was and I already by then I had been thinking about things and feeling the way that I did about music, but I was so good. I was like, I woke out of it and I was just like, it was me on the stage. And I was on this big stage in this great venue, and it was empty. There was nobody in there. There was me and some other guy. There were a few people running across the boards. I had no idea what any of this shit was, like electronically, musically, anything. So I couldn't even decipher most of it in my dream. I just could decipher that I was on this stage reciting these lines that I could identify as my lines, but I was not that good yet. I was not even good. It was just so good. I was like, and I was trying to remember, like, what were some of those lines I said so I could remember and try to cheat the game and kind of, write them down and shit.
Right. Yeah.
When I was on tour in 2007, that very moment was happening. It was Virginia. It was the first show after touching down in Dulles that we performed on the East Coast of the tour, because it started in New Mexico, but we flew over to Dulles and hit the East Coast, and the venue was a huge venue. The venue, it had a hot tub. There was a primary, a secondary, and even a third backstage area, and we had this pool table and these big screen TVs and everything. We're like, this is dope. And we're like, this is the secondary room? It's like, what's the primary room in it? And we went to the primary room with the homies and shit, and it was a hot tub and all this other stuff. I was like, y'all ain't got no pool table. We had a better situation back there. But more importantly, doing the sound check, it clicked. That very moment clicked, because it was the exact detail by detail what happened in that, what I thought was a dream.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't fucking believe it. This was it.
It was a glimpse into the future from a jail cell.
It was a glimpse into the future from one of my most devastating, disparaging moments in my life,
Right.
of being the most confined and wanting to have the opposite in my freedom, not only physically, but musically, and being so depressed that I was somehow in this place that my mother, out of all people, put me in, and I just was like, God damn, like, and it was a traumatic, like I was just going out shooting one day, and had some mushrooms, everything was fine. I just came home to take a shower. I didn't think I'd be arguing with my mom that would lead to the police call that would lock me up, for I didn't know all that shit would happen. So just the dramatic turn of events, just me living my everyday life,
Destructo's and he said, fuck that, I'm getting locked up after this live show.
Yo, watch that, Destructo.
Don't put that out in the universe.
What do you think it was that allowed you? So, okay, would you classify it as a
premonition,
premonition, or an out of body experience, an inner body experience? What do you think was the trigger for that to happen in your life?
It clearly was the physical confinement and the my spirit leaving that physical confinement. It obviously happened. It was legit. It was something that I experienced legit, verbatim, everything, and I was like, holy shit. I mean, I was 25 years old at the time. Like, I mean, you're talking, 10 years, 12 years later, and there I was in that moment. So, after that happened, I tried to go back into other moments that I experienced that were kind of profound like that I felt were so real, dreams that were so real that stuck with me all those years. Mm-hmm. And there hasn't been one, but ironically, and it's funny that we're touching down on this now, my son just got done having one of those moments. And, it was crazy because we were just talking about it the other day. And, I'm convinced it's not the first time with me. Yeah. There's been other times since then, but that was the first time, the most profound, and it kind of changed my trajectory of thinking of the way that the physical universe works. And I had already, at 17, 18, 19, was into transcendental meditation, practicing astral projection. Okay. I had already started all that during that time. So, I already had this profound understanding, but it rewired that understanding into, oh, shit, it's deeper than that. Mm-hmm. And that was just Yeah, crazy
So,
shit for me.
okay, and I want to get into more of that later in the show. What was your first job that you can remember that you literally were making money to pay the bills?
It was selling newspaper subscriptions door to door. Also at 13 is when I first did that.
I remember those days.
There was a whole racket in our
Yeah.
generation of people. There's this, God, what the hell was that company's name? It was like American something publishing or something like that. Anyways, like
I remember
it
that.
wasn't
Yeah.
just regionally. This was a national thing, and then they would get these older people of responsibility who have driver's license and all to get them to run a crew of kids who get paid under the table a percentage of what people subscribe to, so they could get the younger kids to go to the older neighborhoods and say, hey, we see that your newspaper subscription is coming up. You want to double down on that? You know, all that other stuff. And we do fucked up shit like pocket
Right.
cash sometimes.
American Home Publishers.
There you go.
Yeah, Uncle Crum got it. Yep,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it was called.
And the crazy part is that I revisited that with the homies a couple years later, like when I was 15, and we had this other guy that was doing it, and he was like in his early 20s, but we was all rapping and thugged out and shit like that. We were like, yo, let's just try to make some money and do what we got to do. If we get some cash, we'll pocket the cash. It's a win-win-win. We're too young to work. We're still out here in these streets. Let's go ahead and do this, you know? And we were just kind of walking the neighborhoods doing what we did, and it was crazy going to some of these neighborhoods. But this guy, he was a piece of shit, okay? He should not have been hanging out with kids like that. We would after we do our rounds and shit, get like an ice chest full of beer, like like he'd rap with us and shit on like
Yeah.
he tried to and everything. Like he straight up smoked crack with some of the other guys and shit. We went to the Wu-Tang concert in '97, like all this shit like that. Like he was I think he was 21 or something like that. I remember this guy, and he was just he lived at his grandmother's house in a single wide trailer. And it was just, I didn't realize, I mean, I kind of did at the moment, but like, I was just like, man, this is just some loser existence that I don't want to live at when I'm 21. Shit. Like, like hanging out with these kids over here. Like they even picked up a hooker one time. Just like, yo, you want to get in on this? I'm like, hell no, I don't want to smoke crack with no hooker. Fuck out of here with that shit. I'm here to smoke some weed and, you know, maybe get my drink on and get some bars off. I ain't trying to smoke crack and, you know, get polished up by some hooker. Like, go ahead and have that. And there was like 3 of the guys there, and I'm like, what the fuck is this grown man doing? Like, yo, this is illegal. Like, at some point I was just kicking it by myself, and I was like, these motherfuckers. Like, because I had already been in the hood. My OGs were 21, 23 years old. I already drank, smoked weed with the homies. Like, I already was used to that legality part of it, of being corrupted by my adult friends.
Right.
But this was something different. This was a guy who was entrusted to sell newspaper subscriptions and got corrupted by us to where we convinced him to buy alcohol, and he got so fucked up. He was like, oh, let's go get some crack and some hookers.
Good God.
So like, the fuck is this guy doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some of it.
Okay. So what was your first legit job then, should I say?
It was Winona Research doing surveys. I was just under 16 years old. You could get hired at a part-time situation like that at 15 and a half, which used to be a thing. Kind of like when you got your learner's permit and shit like that.
Yeah.
I hated it. I hated the structure. I hated sitting, being confined, and the redundancy of like dialing in and all that shit. I was seeing people that were growing next to me like, this fucking job. Like, this fucking job. Are you fucking kidding me and shit? Yo, I was like Brody on the wire. Yo, I clocked that shit in minutes. I ain't trying to fucking. And then my first check, right? So I done blown off like showing up on time a couple times. I called in one time and, you know, I think it was like 3.5 days, and I looked at my check. I was like, get the fuck out of here. I was like, this is bullshit. Even for 3.5 days, I was like, and it was funny. It was so pathetic when I came to picking my minuscule check. I was with my friend from elementary school, my brother's friend, who we opened our first shop. My first shop. He was my business partner. Later on, it was his Camaro. We drove up there to get my check. I think I got a pair of shoes or something. But later on, when I had to, because keep in mind, locked up at 13. I've been on probation this whole time. I needed to work. I needed to go to school. I was in a school for probation. I was only getting 20 hours a week. You know, I had to satisfy 32 hours a week. So I had to work. I had to do something. But being under 16, insurance, all that other shit, I couldn't even do community service. And me at that age, I was still thugged out. I didn't give a fuck. You know, I didn't care about authority or their damn rules. I still smoked. You know, I beat my drug tests. I didn't stop smoking or whatever. I beat them. So, like, I know just about everything you need to know about cleaning piss, including drinking bleach. And, I just did the damn thing as a little fucker, you know.
Yeah.
The second time was different. The second time was precision research. And that was crazy because we had people from the neighborhood. It was me, my cousin. My brothers worked there, but not at the same time. My friend Adam, like we had like 5 or 6 people from the neighborhood that hung out at my dad's house because we had 30 to 50 people every night hanging out there. So we all, as a group, we would, you know, drive there, you know, do our thing, get fucked up and come back home. Like we just hang out all day, and work was a part of hanging out. And we'd satisfy the job enough to stay there and do our work and get our paycheck and all that other stuff. And it was fun times. You know, we were bumping Redman, Lords of Acid. You know, we were just, Far Side, like all kinds of shit, just bumping, you know, going to work. And, man, we had a very interesting Christmas that year. Man, we had a white Christmas, put it that way.
So when did you notice your career heading in your career in music heading in a positive way, and you were starting to take things more serious and develop a viral beat sound?
Never. It just happened. I thought I was going to be a star.
Right.
I thought my bars are going to get me signed, yo. 13 years old, 15 years old, I was just barely edging my way in the battle circuit. Fucking getting punched in the face over having better bars because of my whiteness and shit.
Right.
And I couldn't complain about it because, hey, it's the culture I'm in. That's how it goes.
Right.
This motherfucker fucked it up for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, people don't realize how bad Vanilla Ice actually was. You know, and I used to listen to Hammer during the time, and they try to make Vanilla Ice. I gave him an honest listen, listened to his album about, 3 times, and I got bored of it, and I was just like, but still, I didn't think it'd come back to bite me in the ass later as an MC, but those stigmas stick, and I thought that I was going to shine through and get signed because my mixtapes were popping. I would do my mixtapes on a karaoke machine. I would get a single would have instrumentals on it. I would get whatever I could get my grubby little paws on, hit play on the thing, hit record on the thing, even put up some echo in the shit and be like, oh, the echo on the thing, So like, and people would join in, try to get their bars off, and they weren't taking it serious. But even taking it serious, I realized the limitations. But I think it was high school really polished me off. Going to a probation school, it was just cipher to cipher. And because I was selling weed at the time, it was like go from a circle, sell a bag, hit the joint, and we're all waiting for the bus or whatever. Right before school, we show up extra early so we could do this just to make sure we catch the bus on time or whatever, being responsible, but then getting fucked up right before going to class and just hitting the bars and shit. So it'd be like cipher to cipher, circle to circle. Like nothing was like it. It was just so dope. The probation school was such a dope thing to go to at the time, not only because no regular high school would take me being on probation, but like, setting up the turntables on Halloween and shit, doing barbecues, doing like legit, that's where I used to get the mic passed to me because when I grabbed the mic that first time, I think I was 14, when I started high school at that place. And I bust out and like everybody's like, God damn, this kid's got bars and shit. And they would always pass the mic to me after that. And I started controlling shit like a couple years later, because I would always get locked up for not completing my hours and then going back to school because I had to, But I got more credits inside than I did at the school. But the school was just a weed rapping excursion. That's all it was. I dropped acid in class before. Like I made my Mormon social studies teacher swear. She said, "Get the hell out of my class." And everybody's like, she swore. She swore. And when I told the office that, they were so taken aback. She got in trouble, and I was on acid.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Not that day. Not that day that I made her swear, but like, yeah, I'm fucked up here.
When was your first on stage performance?
I would say I would technically a rave. I don't know. Some of the house parties that I performed at had a stage. A lot of the most actually all the clubs that I performed at but it wasn't performance. It was rap battles and shit like that. Those have mostly been on stages. They didn't have this floor cipher circle mic in the middle type shit. They've really perfected the art of battle rap now with the acapella, and there's nothing like it now to be able to sit there and transcribe your bars for 8 months. It was freestyle or nothing. You do something that's not freestyle, you're out. Right. And that's it. And people try to perpetrate and all that other stuff. But I would say raves, I would get the mic passed to me, not just in hip hop rooms, but like the jungle shit. And that's when I started performing in front of bigger crowds because it just happened to be a room with bigger crowds and shit. I'm trying to think.
Like, have you ever done any paid gigs while on stage?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm trying
first paid gig on stage. Let's go with that.
Paid. That's elusive as hell. Okay, so I would say probably 2006.
Okay.
Maybe 2007. It was right around the shop because we erected a small stage and did performances there, but I'm not counting that. Even though I got paid at the paid shop. It was called paid, so I got paid at the paid shop. Bullshit. Yeah, that was my partner's idea for that name. But it was at the clubhouse. Some guys that I was interacting with, they were trying to get a record deal with Virus Music because we established Virus Music in 2006, and it was through the shop at the same time as opening the shop. It was a joint venture, and we just ran Virus Music out of there. I was actually going to call the shop Virus Music, but my buddy was like, "I got this idea," and I was like, all right, cool. I'll just run it independently, which is a good thing because we severed ties like after 4 months or whatever. So yeah, it was those guys in that group, and I helped them through because it was their first time acting as promoter, and I was kind of helping them through that, and we got paid for that show. And then that's when Intrinsic saw me because we had booked him on that show. And I met Intrinsic through the shop. His merch guy came through and gave me a bunch of CDs and shirts and all this stuff that I just bought from him. There was no consignment at our store, at our shop. It was no consignment at all. I would pay for it up front, which was an anomalous thing to do. But like, hey, you know, I wanted to make sure that, one, I wouldn't have to pay anybody back afterwards. Two, if it took time to sell, make sure that, you know, we're not going to hurt, they're not going to hurt. It was a win-win for everybody. So he was just taken aback by that. But when he saw me on stage at that show and the way that I performed, he was like, yo, this dude has got it. And that's when he proposed that we do a song together. And then we went to the studio and did a couple songs together. And then we decided then that we were going to perform together at that point. So it was 2007, right before going on tour. I would say our first time together, really coming together at a paid gig, was Funk Junkies 2007. And Funk Junkies, you know, they were local to Phoenix. They were actually our lame claim to fame when it came to music, before Nasty Boy Clique came around. And fuck those guys, by the way. I tried to battle them when I was younger. I was like 16 when those guys came out. I don't know if you guys remember. It went national. Their song is "Take a Little Trip on the AZ Side." It was all over the radio. And those guys, we knew them locally, and they used to puff their chests out with arrogance, like, "Oh, we'll battle anybody." And then, you know, like, "Hey, let's go." And be like, "Oh no, it's all love. We ain't about that battle and shit." What the fuck, dude? You know, you're out here talking shit and immediately, you know, backing down, and it just they got all this fame, notoriety, and money, and it just it bummed the locals out because there was a stark contrast to the hip hop community. So to answer your question, as I trace back in my thoughts, 2007, Funk Junkies, final answer.
Funk Junkies.
That's when we met Daniel Jordan too, by the way, who we got the deal with Esham. We got him his record deal with Real Life Productions in Esham a couple years later, but we met him at that Funk Junkies show. Crazy guy.
So who are some of your, where did you find your inspiration from as you're on stage now? As you're on stage and you're starting to explore hip hop and the battle scenes, what helped you evolve as a hip hop artist?
Well, for one, getting knocked off my pedestal and not signing a deal immediately. So there's that. I didn't make it out the hood.
And that was the goal. Was that the entire goal, is to
I was never in the hood. I would go to the hood by choice. I would, that's the thing about it. Like, that's the thing. Like, I mean, yes, we had to live in the hood a few times after moving around, and we've lived in the hood. But it wasn't until, like, I lived with my dad early on. Like, I left my mom, and my dad took me in when he got remarried. So I lived there independently of my brothers for 2 years before my mom dumped them off on my dad too. But for me, it was a lot different. It was right before I started junior high. And it was the fighting and the gang shit, which I really didn't start immersing myself into until, 14 years old and junior high and everything. But I mean, after my dad's, even though things were cool and we were in the suburbs and all that in a quiet neighborhood, I was already corrupted by then, and I was already fighting. Failed 7th grade 3 times, by choice of not conforming, really. I got kicked out of 2 schools. I got expelled from the Glendale district. So, and once I had that expulsion on my record is why they wouldn't let me into any of their high schools. And so to answer your question, my influences, it's crazy because I've had the fortunate pleasure of meeting some of my heroes, and one of the most profound events, because I was a juggalo through and through, still am, to a certain extent, representation. You want to see something fucked up. Here's my hatchet man, sir.
Yeah.
I got 2 messed up hatchet mans on my arm, in the back of me,
Yeah.
But the 2 moments that stuck out the most with me musically is meeting Violent J when I was 15 years old. I have violated my probation. I was on house arrest. I was on intensive probation. I wasn't allowed to go anywhere. I willingly and gladly violated my probation to go to an Insane Clown Posse concert. And it was the Halls of Illusions tour, I think is what it was called. They came out and introduced Twisted for the first time. They had this group that they just signed, Misery, which was a New York hip-hop artist. It was Psycho Realm was supposed to be there, but that was right when, what's his name, got shot. So, like, he was actually in the hospital, and they had to jump off that tour. And Cottonmouth Kings. And I met Brad, Daddy X from Cottonmouth Kings, and I told him, I ditched my probation to go to this show. He's like, yo, you want to get out of that system? Because he and his friends, had been in the system from, shit that they've gone through, and they realized, yo, we gotta let these kids know you can't be stuck in this adult system or whatever. But he gave me his number to send him a demo, and I was like, oh, cool. And, my face was all painted up and shit. I had dripping down because, got Faygo all over it and everything. But we were waiting for my buddy's friend, not my buddy's friend, but my friend's dad to come pick us up. And he was all the way in Glendale, and he had to come all the way down to Tempe. So, for those who know on the map there, that's about a 45-minute drive away. And at a moment's notice, got to get ready beforehand and all that other stuff. You're talking at least an hour and a half. So we were out there for 2 hours, and guy took his time. Probably stopped by and got a pack of smokes or something on the way. But Shaggy went on the bus and started, getting the groupies and everything like that. It's like, yo, it's messed up that I got to be out here talking to all these dudes, and then Shaggy gets to go up on this bus all the time. Every place that we go to, it's always like this, and we just ended up having this really profound conversation with Violent J at 15 years old. And then when we opened up for Hatchet Attacks, for Dark Lotus, actually, it was 2,500 people in Colorado, and I reminded him about that story, and he remembered it. And that kind of shit, I talked to Brother Lynch, and it was such a crazy thing because Lynch had just been signed to Strange Music. It was his first time going out there on tour performing. But he had no idea how big his music was in Phoenix. But more importantly, to me, he didn't know, so I got to tell him, yo, when Loaded came out, I got that right away. I was one of those, weird people who got it, and I listened to it front to back. And I just really vibed with it, the darkness, the slow pace all the way through. E40, Ice-T, these features, these songs. It had that song that was on West Coast Bad Boys 2. Like, it was really well put together. And I listened to that. What happened was I went to my buddy's house for Halloween. I wasn't supposed to be gone without notifying my dad and all that other stuff. I missed out on my ride home. So it was for the weekend, too. I dropped out, so I didn't communicate with my dad. My probation officer came over looking for me, and he's like, I don't know where he is. He had to call it in because it had been a couple of days. I felt like an asshole doing that, but I was kind of just doing my own thing. I finally got a ride. It was that Monday, but it was like the end of the day, so it had been that third day, and my dad called that day from his work, because he couldn't get a hold of me. He's like, yo, where's this kid at? So, like, I didn't know that I had a missing persons report out for me. And I came home, and then the last thing I did was I listened to that album front to back. I was high as shit. I've been drinking all weekend. And I listened to that album front to back, and I went to sleep. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. Got the Glendale police pointing a light right in my face at the foot of my bed with my dad and my stepmom right next to them talking about, let's go. I'm like, fuck. It's like, dude, I had to call it in. I didn't know where you were at. I was like, I just couldn't get a ride home, but I was in for 3 months during that time, and that album stuck with me because when you don't have access to music or TV or anything artistically, that resonated with me so much. Hey, check to see the door.
Uh-oh, package arrived.
I hope so. Nope. No, it's not FedEx. I just checked the cameras. I got the cameras on. We had to put him up, man. This fool tried to break into that apartment next door last night, like midnight.
Oh, jeez. You still having problems with the neighbors?
No, they're gone. They moved out 2 weeks ago. They actually moved out all their shit, changed the locks, have the lights on, and the doors wide open so everybody could see that they're gone. This fool tried to open up the door. We heard the wagon come through because they like pulled this homeless wagon. This is like a local over here or whatever.
Oh, geez.
I grabbed my shit and I was like, get the fuck out of here, man. It's like, there ain't nothing here for you. They moved out a couple weeks ago. You ain't got no business here. I was like, you know what? I'm calling this shit in. So I called 911. I was like, man, this fool's over here trying to break in. Yeah, man. I was like, man, we got to put this fucking camera back on. But anyways, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. But hey, now I get to check the door for FedEx to see what the hell's going on over here.
Yeah.
So if I don't trust little Tussin's eyes and ears,
better safe than sorry.
Safe than sorry. Yeah, get that package.
Yeah, get that package. It's his NPC. So like, I got the windows open. He's hanging out on the couch. So, and we'll be able to hear too. So it's just, and it's ironic that we're having this thing for Sundays, this NPC conversation, right at this moment. So, but yeah, the long and short of it, Lynch, all these years later, signed to Strange Music, and when Chris Calico was in the studio with me, I told him, because we could get to that story if you want to hear about it. It's about 4 hours in the studio after opening up. That was the profound story that I shared during my live about me, not knowing whether or not I was going to be committed or hospitalized the night before. But I told Chris Calico, I was like, yo, it was so, I'm glad that you guys, what did I say? I said, dude, I am so glad you guys signed Lynch. And he fucking like dropped what he was doing. He was like, look, I wish I could tell you and I wish I could show you, but this world has no idea what this guy's about to come out with right now. And that was before Dinner and a Movie was released and all that other stuff. So Dinner and a Movie comes out on Strange Music. He signs a 3-album deal. It's fucking produced by Seven. I think Rob Rebeck's got some joints on there. Maybe, no, I don't know. Seven was on there. There was a lot of solid joints on there. And he's back in his bag talking his shit. And when he was on tour, and that was when we owned the second shop, the Axe. And we were opening during that time, but we had shown up earlier to do sound check. But we wanted to get in between there because Strange does these meet and greets. So we stayed there and just talking to Lynch and being able to share that story. Man, he had no idea how big his music was out here. And I told him, Season of the Sickness, that's 1995. That was also the year the Friday soundtrack came out. There was a lot of good music. That was the year Muddy Waters or whatever. It's like the album of the streets, though.
Yeah. Souls of Mischief.
Yeah, there was a lot of solid music that you could say, yo, this was album of the year. But in the streets, if you were Crippin', especially, Brother Lynch Hung's Season of the Sickness was your record. That was the thing that had the streets on fire. People would get fucked up and bang to that record. And, maybe a detriment to whole communities, but, it got a lot of heart into it. And, he didn't know what an impact he did. And especially being a white boy telling him this shit, you know what I mean? It's like,
right.
But yeah, being able to share those stories with some of my anti-heroes. I say anti-heroes because they're not what people would consider your heroes. When Tech Nine waited for us to perform backstage, like he heard our music and he came from backstage to sit down and enjoy our performance and waited for us to get back and said, yo, good shit.
Yeah.
I love it.
Who were
And
some of the famous people you've opened up for?
Fame. I guess the one with the most fame. Well, Bone Thugs in I said that in the most Caucasian way ever.
Yeah, you did.
Bone Thugs in Harmony were
Yeah.
1950s radio host.
it was that in between time where Busy wasn't around still, and they were on their like kind of hiatus or whatever. So it was only Wish, Lazy, and Crazy, and hanging out with Crazy backstage, and we were just kicking it, having conversations, enjoying the show from our perspective. We didn't have any down to earth conversations, but they had a stretched Humvee with a stripper pole back there, and they partied harder than even Paul Wall, because doing Tech Nine and Paul Wall, that was the catalyst show. Like the show that I just described with Tech Nine meeting us backstage, that was 2007. That was Misery Loves Company tour. That was before Tech Nine really took off. But the show that we opened up after that for Tech Nine locally was two shows. One was at the Rialto in Tucson, which was first, and it was April 18th, and then April 20th at the Marquee in Tempe. And we opened both of those shows. We did a flyer, with both of the dates promoting on it. We sold tickets to both of those shows. I never got paid so much for opening before, because the tickets sold out a couple weeks ahead of time, so they were going to the highest bidder. So I guess Paul Wall would be like the most famous. I kind of regret this, but not really, because I can't really regret it. But we turned down Ice Cube after he released War and Peace. And he came out for the first time in a while, and we turned him down to do Andre Nicotina instead. And with EA Ski and his connection to Cube and all that, all these years later, in hindsight, probably should have took the Cube show, even though the Andre Nicotina show did better without, radio and all that other stuff. And even not underrated, but God, what's the other guy's name from Potluck? You guys know who Potluck is from Humboldt County?
No.
This is a group that was signed to Suburban Noise. We ran into them at it was the Hatchet Attacks that was in. It was the second one that was in Mesa Amphitheater. And we had told him that we turned down the Ice Cube show, and he was like, "Are you fucking crazy? You turned down opening up for Ice Cube?" And we're like, we already knew what to expect from an Andre Nicotina crowd. And for those who don't know, Andre Nicotina he used to go by Dre Dog in the Bay Area. He used to fuck with In Too Deep, Mac Dre. They're cousins, I think they are, but they used to do a lot of work together side by side. So every time you see the word Dre Dog in a West Coast thing, that is Andre Nicotina. He made a whole secondary career for himself in the 2000s, and he did that Ayo for yayo, all up in my name, So that really, the kind of same stuff that Mac Dre was rapping about or whatever. So we knew the independent was better, as far as the way that things were going. And we had that situation with Wu-Tang to where they were 5 hours late and we got bottles thrown at us and shit opening up for them. So there's that whole situation that kind of talked us out. Yeah, and that was the first show that we did at the Marquee after the Tech show. But we earned so much respect because Tech Nine was October 27th, and then it was January 8th for Wu-Tang. And we were like, should we take Wu-Tang? You know, it's out of our genre technically, you know, them being mainstream and it being, you know, backpack hip hopper type of deal compared to our underground, you know, and Intrinsic's a lot different than me. He's more of the suburban kind of rock rap type of genre or whatever. He's not street MC like me, you know. That's why we were such a good fit.
Right.
Because I was a ghetto motherfucker from the West Side, and he was a trust fund baby, rich kid, you know, on the East. So us two together musically, we worked out really well, especially because he had already worked with Capadonna and you know, other artists like what's his name? Big B was real big in Suburban Noise Records community and Funk Junkies. That's how we ended up getting the show and stuff like that. So just kind of through all that. And he did Proof's last work those 3 weeks. And that was the profound shit about discovering this record on a whim yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah.
71 degrees outside. And we're like, oh, it's pretty good here. You know, our friend Tyrone, after you know, kicking down for little Tusson's MPC here, was like, you know what? I'm going to make sure that you get something out of this. And I was like,
which,
okay.
by the way, thank you, Tyrone, Sellers, and Strange Skies for your donation. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Before we play a Viral Beats
exclusive.
What genre of hip hop do you classify yourself under, if any?
Underground. Even though I'm cut from the cloth of your traditional trajectory of a Gen X MC, I've always favored the hardcore hip hop more than anything, and gravitated towards the Fat Beats era, which is the late 90s, early 2000s. LP, Necro, you know, that kind of Vinnie Paz, you know, all that shit, you know, Jedi Mind Tricks, you know. My style when I first started making studio albums, because Del was my favorite MC, is my favorite MC still. I ended up inadvertently modeling some of my style on accident, so I had to stop listening. But I realized that I was kind of saying some things in the way that he projects his vocal because we have the same cadence. And I was like, oh, shit, I need to stop listening to other people's music if I want to be original. So I just kind of turned shit off. My buddy gave me a Tech 9 CD when Angelic came out and turned me on to him. I was like, yeah, this is the shit. And I was already, you know, and the Juggalo community started getting bigger during that time too. Then they did the Wicked Wonka tour with Killer Priest, Cottonmouth Kings, Tech 9. And yeah, I was listening to a lot of Aesop Rock during that time. Bazooka Tooth had come out. D12 had come out with D12 World, so I was bumping that. Benzino was destroying hip hop through his magazine, and yeah, it was quite a time. But I still, during that time, identified as underground hardcore hip hop, just because I'm a little bit bar heavy for some of these clowns, and a little bit too deep for some of this music, but at the same time, sonically there. Fat beats. I'm all about fat beats. I'm all about that hard, in your face. All my favorite Eminem songs are all as hardcore shit. You know, all my favorite ICP shit. It's all their dark, heavy stuff. You know, I love the darkness. That's where I go every time. Obviously, Brother Lynch. You know, and you know we were talking about. It's funny because you were talking about ignorant shit. You know, when it comes to. There's some ignorant shit right here. You know, that's what I love about Proof. I mean, I know the streets of Detroit are the way that they are or whatever, but Niles pointed out to us yesterday, it's uncanny and bugged out to listen to him talk about like guns and shit like that or whatever, and then the way that he passed and was killed and shit because he never got off the streets, really. You know, he was still going in the clubs, and that's what led to his demise in the end or whatever. But you know, he was about that shit, and you know, if you're about that shit, you're not going to talk about something different if you're still, you know, out there dealing with that. And you know, for those who don't know, Detroit has always been one of those places to where it's, you know, breathing is secondary, carrying a strap is primary. You know what I mean? Like it's such a second nature thing to live that street life. It just comes out in your bars, you know, but it's just like Royce said on Death is Certain, my favorite hip hop album of all time. You know, he said, I'm not hip hop. Don't confuse me with them. But at the same time, he's doing a DJ Premier track called Hip Hop. You know, this is rap basketball, stats all you got, you know, and that kind of shit, you know, that kind of shit. So I would say hardcore, underground hip hop, you know, Fat Beats era.
Underground hip hop.
I can't place it. I can't contain it. God damn it.
Yeah. And
it's like we're trying to contain this kid with an MPC. He's going to master it. And we're going to be like, well, what the fuck do we do now?
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to listen to your exclusive track. What can you tell us about this before we listen to it?
I didn't produce it, so that's one. This was produced by T-Sketch Beats, and out of support for her, I wanted to check out what she had because she had been elusive for the past like year and a half, I think a year really, working on her personal life, getting her restaurants in order. She's got 2 restaurants that she runs. So she got back into it and back to her Saturday thing. She does this thing. She does this 10-minute beat making and sets the timer for 10 minutes. Puts something together, moves on to the next. And then the second half of her streams does the long form of it. Sometimes her stream goes 5-7 hours. She went, I think, 9 hours one time. But, like, she goes and she cooks, you know, on FL. And it's dope. And this beat, I just went to her Beat Stars, and it was the first beat. I was like, oh, this speaks to me. And then I looked at the other ones. I was like, no, it's that first one. So I kicked her down the leasing rights for it and did my damn thing over here. I put a scratch track up and got my bars down, which is how I do things. And then I obsessed over the master for a couple weeks, in which I'm still obsessing over. And then I finally got it to a point to where I felt I could put a tester out there, which is what I did, which is what this is. And get my first pass just kind of to show some of my friends, you guys, and everything in the community at large, and at small, our group, and T-Sketch too, and kind of this is what I'm working on. It's almost there. I was gonna do a legit music video, then I didn't want to see my stupid face. I was like, so I just did a visual video, and then I was like, okay, so now. As I'm obsessing over this master, right when I got this one done, I started losing my hearing a little bit. My sinuses started to clog up with the change of the pollen in the weather and everything. And it's been happening more lately. So I was just like, okay. And then I could tell in my hearing. So I'm just passing it around to people and getting their opinion. Hey, what does this sound like to you? Everyone, oh, it sounds good. I'm like, sonically though, what does it sound like? Like, are the highs up too high? Because like I could tell which adjustments I have to make. You know, I'm gonna move the high pass filter over just a couple points of a decibel over to the left over here, and I'm gonna take down the highs by 0.2 decibel in the highest frequency, and I'm going to turn up the compression ratio by 0.2 as well. So I got locked down and hear what I'm going to do sonically. But yeah, I'm just passing them around to the homies. So this will be the first public forum, really, that this song has been
aired on.
And I would like to get anybody else's opinion on what they think of sonically. You know, it's there, it's ready, but it's just not quite. There's just a little meticulous thing that I need to do when and it's starting to clear up. I could feel like I should be completely cleared up tomorrow. It started like I was like, okay, you know, I'm starting to be able to breathe a little bit better now. You know, I'm draining.
Okay.
So
Sweet.
Okay,
All right,
hold on. Before we air this, I really have to go to the bathroom.
Okay,
I
well,
didn't
go
get a chance to go.
go
but
pee
I'll
while
be
the-
right back.
Yeah, while this plays. So I'm gonna. Oh, you're gonna take your phone with you, or oh no, you want me to wait till you get back? Oh, he wants me to wait till he gets back. So I'm not gonna.
now we have an empty chair.
Now we have an empty chair. Okay, that's fine. There you
Do
go.
it live. Fuck it.
I'll do it without him. See if he likes that. He's probably gonna go take a piss outside anyways. We have 4 acres. There's plenty of room for him to go take a pee out there.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm curious. So does your wife enjoy your music?
Yeah, she does more than she lets on to. She knows that I don't take praise very well. I mean, it's not that I don't take praise very well. I just work and move on to the next thing. You know,
Yeah.
however the accolades or what do you call that? Adulation comes. You know, fine.
Yeah.
It's cool. You know, I love that people love it. And that's what we do it for, is for people to love it. She does, and she heard my unlike and unsubscribe. She was like, damn. And then when she saw this, she was like, because she don't be listening during the process. She could hear
Right.
through my open back headphones when she's here, but other than hearing the repetition of what I'm doing, she don't know what I'd be doing. And then I'll just play her the final. And then that's all she has for a reference. She doesn't have the start of it. She doesn't have the beat. She doesn't have the scratch track. She has no idea until I just give her. So she just thinks I'm a genius. She knows that I'm sitting here working on it for 2 weeks a month,
Right.
3 years at a time.
Yeah.
You know, so she knows that I'm not just polished like that, but she just gets the final product every time.
Yeah.
So she's like, yeah, you know, this is fucking great. You know, and I'm like, yeah, that's all right.
That's too funny.
I cheated though. We met 14 years ago, and our first date was me opening up for Tech Nine,
Oh.
and I
okay.
brought her backstage with me.
You're like,
So that wasn't fair of me. I kind of manipulated the circumstance.
Or was it?
Oh, she
All
was
right.
locked
Oh.
in after that.
Oh, wait. It's not play. Okay. Hang
Ready?
Yep. Hang on. Let me
Ready?
let me just share this screen real quick.
Oh, and cool. I could take my thing to just hear the audio, so I could hear what it hears by proxy.
Yeah, and everyone, make sure you guys got some good earpieces in. So
Yeah, give us your honest opinion.
Listen with
That's-
your studio monitors, folks.
It's
We got a lot of friends out here that got nice setups to listen to quality music on. So
yeah, don't do it. Do not hear this on the phone if you can, please.
but if you
Phones
do, it'll
don't-
sound great on the phone.
Okay, turn my
all right.
mic down.
Okay. Here we go.
Yo, it's been quite a year already. Never underestimate a generation of the legendary. It's been quite a year already. It's been quite a year already. It's been quite a year already. Yo. It's been quite a year already, never underestimate the generation of a legend. And I'm stepping in the ring, always steady with the pen. Heavy metal, never settle with the level that we bring. Getting better when you age and you get inside a place. In the pocket when you rock it on the stage, now it's right up in your face. What to do with this level of greatness? We're all about to get the keys and open up all the gates. And homie, no, we don't play, we say it just like it is. We're not gonna let the music business take advantage again. When all the streaming goes away, it's only you in the universe, and you only make it through, and everything in your toolbox is utilized. You can try, but you're never gonna build it on a lie. If you really wanna stay alive, dig inside, find that little missing piece of the puzzle that's been causing you trouble. Never try to muzzle others in the struggle. I juggle life and still manage the time to do significant damage up on the microphone with every rhyme. We're not the same type because we build different. The facts don't care about your feelings just because you put Trump back in office. Whoa. It's been quite a year already. It's been quite a year already. It's been quite a year already. Hey. It's been quite a year already. It's been quite a year already. It's been quite a year already. Yo. It's been quite a year already. Never underestimate a generation of the legendary. It's been quite a year already. It's been quite a year already. It's been quite a year already, yo. It's been quite a year already. Everybody bringing hip-hop right back in the conversation. People hating, let them hate. Just keep on pushing on the fake and take another look around to see what's right for your space. Stay light years away from all the type who display negative energy and drain all the light from your day. Either you're saying you ain't, the language is making a statement. My paper's painting and painting, so it's not up for debating. Let's see how far I can scale it. Sharpen my tools of impatient. Now I'm developed like we used to do in film in the 80s. There ain't no maybes about it. Just keep them babies up the streets and wipe your feet off the doormat. We should be cool. Never underestimate a generation of the legendary.
Alrighty, and we're back.
Viral beats.
You guys have no idea how long I've been waiting to wedge that "Keep Your Babies Off the Streets" line into a song. A long time. I've been waiting to wedge that into a song somewhere. I was like,
You
yo,
did it well.
after all these years, keep your babies out the streets.
That Homie Don't Play That Clown from In Living Color brought back memories.
Right?
I did that one for Destructo.
Yeah. No, but I mean, it sounds like you're going in the right direction. And maybe you have a little bit of insecurity out there that you still have to conquer. Myself, I would have loved to see you in there, doing your bars, but I get it. I get the idea of the video.
Crazy
I just
Rabbit
don't want
has an opinion. He says, my uneducated thoughts on the Sonic, more low end, less high end. Love your style, sir.
Yeah, and that's exactly what my adjustments are going to be, because what I did was I ended up bringing the low pass or the high pass filter up just a little bit too much when I readjusted the highs. But I'm also, remember that I'm mastering to try to adjust my levels to fit the YouTube algorithm, because the YouTube has their own compression ratio that they use. So what it sounds like to me isn't what it sounds like coming out of the video.
Right.
So it takes away and it puts in. So I kind of got to make my adjustments, and I miscalculated a tad on that one. And it sounds great in the car, and it sounds great over here. It sounds great in the headphones. It just doesn't sound great coming from YouTube, so I have to make my adjustments on that. But yeah, Wabbit's on it exactly, because those are the exact adjustments that I'm going to be making.
Grace says a touch heavier bass would certainly work well. Bicky says slightly lift 80 hertz dip at 270 and lower the highs and keep it below.
There you go.
6 lufs.
Mm-hmm. We're saving the questions for 4 o'clock.
Okay.
We have a half hour until 4 o'clock, and then we'll open up the questions.
God, my mind's in West Coast time. Like, oh shit, I gotta get this session together ASAP.
Yeah. So after
plenty of time.
grade school, after high school, you went to college, right, for a degree in music engineering?
Yeah, 10 years after I dropped out.
Oh, 10 years after.
Wow.
Yeah, I dropped out at 16. So my probation school was supposed to be a 2.5-year thing. 2.5 years, you could get your full credits if you go there the full schedule. But because they kept pulling me out and locking me up for not getting my hours in, I went there for 2.5 years, and I still had freshman credits. I actually had more credits, inside that I got in actual high school. What a waste of fucking time. I needed a job. I needed to get going. I needed to make money, screw that. So I was like, make money or keep getting locked up for, and get inadequate credits because of it. I chose my freedom and financial flexibility, and that's when I started working at Precision Research. And, we had ourselves a nice little Merry Christmas that year. That was the first time I actually bought gifts for people, and it was great because, got some of I think that was the year that I got my stepmom a Jesus Christ action figure.
Jesus Christ
Action
figure?
Yo, so check
That's
this out.
even a thing?
Was it a Mattel product?
No. And they had this elaborate commercial. Jesus Christ.
They even
It's
had
like,
a
you're not the
commercial?
king of the Jews. Crucify him. And there's kids playing with his It's so dope.
That's
It was a
insane.
gag. It was a gag. It was so funny, but she loved it. She took it serious, and she had it sitting on her mantle after that. I was like, that shit. And it came with glow-in-the-dark hands.
Damn.
Glow in the dark.
Fish and
Jesus
bread.
Christ. What was the theme song for that?
They need to have a black Jesus action
Yo.
figure that
Yo.
looks like Scotty.
Right? Blackface and all.
Oh, shit.
Thank you, Tyrell Sellers, once again for donating to the
He
cause.
says, takes a lot of heart to do what you just did. Viral. Bravo.
What, give my stepmom a Jesus Christ action figure? I missed it. I'm just kidding.
Oh, man. That's
So what's next,
awesome.
Viral? Where are you going? Like, what's the plan? What is your end goal with all this?
Oh, wouldn't you like to know?
I would.
Well, that's why we're asking.
Well, I'll tell you. This is it. Making classic hip hop, sharing these classic hip hop stories, you know. We started doing these hip hop history, historical references. We started with the Above the Rim soundtrack, and that video got pulled by the algorithm. It got super duper copywritten. So the copyright on that, it's invisible to everybody. If I were to send you the link right now, you wouldn't be able to watch it. You know, it's
That's
invisible
crazy.
in all territories. And what had happened is that I just came up with the idea like in bed, like I was laying down, I was getting ready to go to sleep, and I was like, Above the Rim. Oh shit. And like all of a sudden I did this video. I just got up right away and did it on that lead song in Above the Rim, which was Pain from Tupac, that got pulled from the soundtrack because Suge Knight didn't get the clearances for it, and they had to, after they already put it out on tape, remove it, even though it was the lead song on the movie. So I was able to find a little bit of it, but it was at the beginning of the movie too. But I did this cleverly edited thing, and I was like, I need to start doing these historical hip hop things or whatever. And it flew, like it got like 2,000 views before the algorithm clipped it. So, which was great for me because I was used to getting like 100, if that, off of my content. And it just got me this idea to do these. So I did MJG and 8 Ball Coming Out Hard. I did the one that got me into hip hop, so the LL Cool J Bigger and Deffer. I did Murder Squad, which I think that one got killed in the algorithm too. What else did I do? I did a couple of them, but like the algorithm just kept killing them, and I was just like, well. I think the last one that I did was my five favorite Tupac verses, and I put all those out, and it went for a little bit, and then it got killed in the algorithm. I was like, well, I guess I can't do this historical. Yeah. I got nailed on this last night, but I'm like, okay, well, if they're not pulling me off the stream specifically, I'm gonna play the record. I'm going to play the record all the way through if I can. I knew I couldn't play Isley all the way through. I got nailed on the copyright not Isley. I keep Isley and, Isaac Hayes because, like, I love them both equally, like, completely equal. But, yeah, when I had the Isaac Hayes record in, it got me, but it didn't clip me. If I would have played those joints all the way through, it would have taken me off the live stream because stacks ain't no joke when you start getting in on that. So to answer your question, this is it. I'm making a classic hip hop album that I decided on the 50th anniversary of hip hop to start getting started on. As I started getting through it and making some beats on the Phantom, I was like, I need a fucking MPC. If I'm going to make a classic hip hop album, I'm going to make it with the MPC. And I was going to get along with just Serato Sample, and while that worked for a few things, and I made some pretty raw stuff like that Monty Python beat. God damn, sampling that, and I could get the clearances on that license. And I'm making it a community effort. I'm doing half of the work, and the other half is not being outsourced, but it's going to be a community effort, which is why I got the T-Sketch Beats beat for it, and I'm just getting other people's production and just kind of doing my thing on it and cruising along with these. But this one in particular, this quite a year already, I want to make sure that the master is undeniably meticulous, and even if I have to pull the video down and exchange some of the sonics for their YouTube compression, that's fine. I'll take the hit on that, just as long as it sounds good on everybody's end. So
okay, I need to ask these two questions before the next hour. So, what do you think turns people off on hip hop?
The ignorant shit, when it comes down to it.
Explain that. Explain the ignorant stuff. Ultimately, I think this question is going to lead into what's the difference between real hip hop and the ignorant shit we're talking about. So what turns people off from hip hop? And then in your mind, what's the difference between real hip hop and mainstream?
The biggest issue, I guess, would be the fact that most artists who are considered in the hip hop mainstream, I'm not talking about the ones that break through like the Eminems and the Kendricks and all that other stuff. They're not in this conversation. Just your average, like what people think or their perception of hip hop is. The most superficial content you can get traditionally is expressed by the most superficial time period of our lives. So when you have a genre of music that is considered a young man's game, not for women, young man's game, and you are not required but kind of expected to project a certain type of music to get people on that level involved, because the young people buy the music is the thinking of the industry. So they want to make sure that they cater to what the younger demographic is doing, which fine, there's no problem with that. But there's a lot of people out here that do really ignorant shit and dangerous shit, and there's a whole genre of rap and rappers who are dying because of exploiting this ignorant shit, revealing their location with their bags of money and talking this reckless Tekashi 6ix9ine type of shit on O Block, talk about this no block and all this other bullshit, It's that kind of influence of ignorance, which a lot of it comes from the social media aspect, but it is also ingrained in the, personality defect of humanity to express and expose the worst of our traits. And unfortunately, that is translated through the music as well. The cars and hoes and clothes thing has always been a thing that has turned people away from hip hop and always been the antithesis
because it's nothing they can relate to, correct?
Yes, but then you have the conflict because gold ropes are what made it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you see Busta Rhymes in his chain, it's fucking obnoxious. He doesn't own it or anything like that, but he gets to walk around in that monstrosity. When you project and reinforce this opinion on people that turn them away and do things like, speaking of Busta Rhymes, that fucking Walmart commercial, Jesus Christ, that kind of shit turns people off to hip hop. But what turns people on to it, though, are the people who do shine through, And I think people are realizing that their hip hop isn't hip hop, that hip hop is not even hip hop. And what is hip hop is something that has been buried, and this hip hop is dead conversation, it didn't just start last year. It has
No.
existed every single year, and every single year there have been monumental.
Well, especially when Nas made it clear that hip hop was dead, right? Then it got notoriety.
Yeah. And that was the time where hip hop was thriving the most. You know what I mean? That was one of hip hop's biggest moments. It was just, he was talking about too the traditional hip hop of things, because that was kind of going towards, because look what era happened during that time. After that, it was Wheezy's turn. You know, it was crunk music, you know, all that shit that was in the clubs that was just screaming off the top of your lungs, getting as fucked up as humanly possible, and just, you know, whatever. And I get it. It gets people hype in the clubs. At a certain age, you're in the clubs, you're getting hype in the clubs. But if you're Drake and you're pushing 40, you shouldn't be trying to get the party lit when you're in the middle of this battle, and a legal battle and all that.
Right.
So it's like, you have the people who projected this ignorant hip hop, who are still in their grown years projecting this ignorant hip hop, making them think that, hey, this is all there is to it, not realizing like, yo, there's an actual trajectory of this. Most of the most best hip hop is from the grown folks doing it. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Right. But hip hop was also, before it was classified as hip hop, it was a form of black people to better themselves from the streets and poverty and how the man viewed them. It was a place to retreat to musically and express themselves with rhyming, dancing, spray painting.
Yeah.
You know, it was rebellion. And I think the founders of hip hop would be rolling in their graves to see exactly how it is now.
See, there's something to that, though, because there's also some of the founders of hip hop that can't do a performance worth of shit, and you know, give it their age and everything like that. But you know, Melly Mel's the one who came after Eminem with that. You know, no apologies. I apologize. I'm sorry for going after Eminem because and he'd been talking reckless on, you know, DJ Vlad. Like, oh, I could destroy Eminem in a rap battle.
Right.
You know, But for him, it was the steroids. But you know, the people who really pushed hip hop culture forward are still doing it, and some of them are doing it terribly, and not even like, if you look at the 50th anniversary of hip hop that was put on, the concert that was put on by Revolt, I think it was, and that concert, if you look at it, some people killed it. Others just got on and walked on, and they looked old. They looked like they couldn't carry the mic. But there's a lot of that element that are, hey, ho, and you can still hey, ho it. You know, that's what me and Intrinsic were doing. Put your motherfucking hands up. Come on. And everybody did it. Why? Because it was a song with a proof verse, and we're talking whether dead or alive, I'll be a legend, you know, you know, like, and legendary, you know, and after killing it performance wise, that was how we ended our performance. And we
which
got
KRS-One is one of the artists that really killed it.
During the time that we were in our heyday performing, I went to a KRS show at the Ice House in downtown Phoenix, and it was my third time seeing Chris live, and he doesn't deviate. He doesn't deviate. He doesn't deviate from his performance, the culture, his freestyle, his projection. He still
he has knowledge himself
mic.
too. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and his sound engineer was the one who was just got me thinking about, I think I'm going to do a wired mic this time around versus a wireless mic, you know, because he's a big guy in the audio and live sound engineering world, and he's like, if you're doing hip hop, you should do a wired mic, and I'm like, this PGX sounds nice. So I think a lot of the ears and eyes are starting to open up to the understanding of what hip hop culture truly is versus the wool that has been pulled over their eyes for the last 30 to 50 years. And understanding that a lot of us old guys who grew up around hip hop at the inception of it and during its most compelling moments, we're the ones who are dictating the narrative and telling the story. So it's our duty really to reflect our truth and where we existed within this culture. I feel, at least from my perspective, having a deep understanding, not only where hip hop culture came from, but where it's been, where it is, what it always has been, and what it continues to be.
Right.
And having this turntable with the MPC is just one part of it.
Right.
But the exposure of something like this, you know, for those who didn't see my live stream last night, this record right here, the reason why it means so much to me is because it is Proof from D12. In 2002, this was after Devil's Night, before D12 World. So, and not only that, Intrinsic recorded the last recordings with Proof, and that Dead or Alive, Put Your Motherfucking Hands Up, that was a Proof song.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his people, you know, Detroit and Phoenix have a synergy. And if you anybody in Detroit and anybody in Phoenix will tell you that. You know, there's, and the families integrate, you know, and we know some of the same people. You know, it was crazy being on tour, running into Critical Bill while they were on tour with Strange, and then having them be some of the first to visit my shop before it opened, right after Digital Underground was there. And those moments, you know, Digital Underground being at our shop was like a moment in hip hop. And yes, it was well dictated by a professional video camera. Mm-hmm. You know, there was a legit crew in there, and this video will never be seen. You know, Shock G just bust out his Korg and started jamming. We started jamming. We started doing a freestyle session. You know, I ended up getting with my ex-girlfriend through a rap battle at that point. You know, we opened up the shop the week after that. You know, these moments in hip-hop, a lot of these older guys who have been in it, if they're not making music right now, most of them still are, but if they're not, they're out here on YouTube having a podcast. DJ Jazzy Jeff, I mention him all the time. He's still running his weekly thing, spinning records like he normally does.
I catch him every now and then. Yeah.
Even Twisted Insane's got his shit. Killer Priest has got a big thing going on. He gets fucking deep with it. Yes. Speaking the guy, jeez. Yeah. So I think everybody in our generation, in the hip hop generation, and I say ours loosely because I'm technically a first year millennial, but I was raised by Gen X, so I gravitate towards that side of the fence. It is our duty with our life experiences, the stuff that we've been through, these profound moments that haven't been dictated. They were dictated by us being there and us being able to tell this story. I think a lot of us are realizing that that is the trajectory of hip hop. If we can't, you know, dictate this narrative through our music, then we at least have to dictate what the narrative was when we were active and what we think about today's and everything like that. You know, there's a lot of those going on right now. And I think that is the future and the present of hip hop. And people are just becoming aware of it because the AI is making the music shit, and people are realizing that it's not a young man's game in hip hop. It's a grown man's game, because that's where all the love, community,
and the knowledge is.
Knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing, the knowledge. You know, we've been telling these kids for years, yo, don't be broadcasting your location with a bag. You fucking crazy. What are you doing? And it got what, like half a dozen rappers killed in the same year just because they pinged their location? You got to watch that shit. You got to watch that shit, kids. Don't be going up the O block, talk about it's no block just so you could fucking troll.
Yeah, and that's all it is kids and
kids and their music.
Know, I love hip hop. I used to hold it in a higher regard, and I know it's because we're older, but I love hip hop from what it meant in the beginning for black folks. And then I love hip hop because it went from the black communities and it went multicultural. And then you were witnessing people from different walks of life explaining themselves through hip hop. And I think where I started to fall out of love with hip hop is when people like Drake and Jay-Z and just these people who are phony, who are continuously selling the youth
Hits.
bullshit, and there's no substance behind it. So my wife and I, we like people like Charlie Tuna, Stickman from Dead Press, Stickman and M1, but Stickman actually has its own thing. He calls it RGB Fit. He does a bunch of workout videos. Like, this is hip hop. Stickman shows you how to eat healthy, how to better your life, how to feed your kids in a healthier fashion, how not to be lazy as a person. He used to be really militant just for black people, but now he's kind of changed his thought process, and it's more for everyone, because everyone has this almost racist vibe to them that they're trying to shed and understand what it's like to walk in someone else's shoes. And her and I was sitting listening to these artists, and Coast Contra and KRS-One and Killer Priest, like, are the Jizza Genius. Our taste for hip hop is always and will always be with the real hip hop artists. And it's sad that no one will ever know these people. Like Viral said, his style is underground. It's underground for a reason. Anything you hear on the radio, just about 100% of it is pure bullshit. And it doesn't describe, to me, it doesn't describe real, authentic hip hop. I was listening to Ayer. Ayer has a YouTube channel. He comes into our comment section a lot. He's starting to visit the Monkey Island. And my brother and I was really enjoying a song he was rapping about aliens in their spaceship, and telling this story. Like, to me, that's what hip hop is. It's a thing where you can get lost in a fantasy. It's not causing no one any harm. You're not preaching to kids how to kill somebody, how to sell drugs and make money, how to disrespect a woman by constantly calling her a bitch, how a woman is only good to wear bikinis and drink champagne in the clubs and they're looked at as sex idols, how men just keep their pants around their ass and drink and smoke, and life is just this one big party, and you need to have a car, and you need to have a mansion, and you need to, it's a poison that these major radio waves love to pump out to the youth. And I don't know what it's going to take to dismantle this. But I mean, this conversation is what they're
all over the place now. Like, people are starting to wake up to, like, oh shit. Like, people don't even realize, like, people think that this resurgence of vinyl is just about, like, oh, I loved records as a medium, but they don't realize, like, you can't get this shit. Like, you can't, there's certain things that only exist on vinyl that will never exist in any other medium.
So what's it going to take then, Viral? What's it going to take to change the stigma and educate the masses on getting their ears away from the bullshit?
It's just I think the fear of AI is a big part of it, because I think it's starting to gravitate people towards the originality of the way that the music is being made, and through that starting to dig into the historical factors in how that music is created and how it came about. And because hip hop is even more prevalent than ever, it's right up in our faces. You have a stark contrast here between artists who are at the top, all the way to the bottom. Even Necro's out here on YouTube telling hip hop history from his perspective of the Fat Beats era, and some of his beef, and some of the people that he's interact with on an industry level. Sage Francis, and other people. Like, these God, Redman,
Right.
Redman's release. They just
we
showed
love
everybody.
Redman. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
year, that Muddy Waters 2 was
Oh, my
such an
God.
eye opener to
Yeah.
a lot of, because people saw the West Coast and they have seen it. You know, the Kendrick and Drake thing brought a lot of understanding to the culture, but it also left out that critical component, and it is the type of Redman contrast. You know.
Mhm.
So seeing somebody like Redman, who is, you know, Kendrick's senior in, you know, personally and professionally, and see him healthy as fuck, you know, and older and polished.
But are
Great
they
as ever.
answers? Are they the answers to change what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, and even Redman
I can
said
see
it,
Redman being one of them. Yes.
yeah, and so there's a bunch of these voices out here doing this. Like Twisted Insane is still doing his thing, and he's like a nobody, you know, in the industry as far as things go. You know, people don't even know who he is really. You know, Tech Nine I think's given him the most shine on Worldwide Choppers. You know, closing out that first track, but like, there's a lot of people that have existed on, you know, maybe not the stature as Redman, because they also went to the Hollywood community and stuff like that, doing their movies and everything. So they actually went to the distance in a few circles and have come back after all these years and are better than ever.
Right.
But yeah, even he said, he was like, look, no label promotion. No, this was just organically. I did the record. I put it out and you guys are receiving it. That's
Right.
all this is.
Right.
This is just hip hop going around.
It reminds me of Hobson and Malcolm Moore in many ways.
And there you go. Hobson's another big trajectory. And if it weren't for Dame, which is another conversation to be had, because Dame's out here on DJ Payne One's channel trying to make his next business venture go or whatever. But Hobson, the way his trajectory went with everything, just really has and he thought he was going to be a cypher MC. He thought his fan base, he didn't realize his fan base was going to be technicians and juggalos, you know, and it was going to be that.
Yeah.
And that's actually
Right.
what it got a lot of them, you know, people in the hip hop community, you know, are disgracefully disrespectful to hip hop, to Hobson. You
They
know,
are, yeah.
But he's a great MC, and being younger and everything, he's actually one of the new cats that was in 2007's freshman class that I was like really respectful of. But that was also the time that Strange Music had their trajectory and became rich right after I stopped performing live. You know, it's funny how that
Right.
happened. It was like one rat after another. It's like my last show with them was 2010, and that was the year that everything really picked up for them. But there was a lot of waves being made then. It was just, you had to dig more to find it. And now here with social media and everything being what it is, there's no digging to be had. And I think people in our generation are starting to realize, hey, wait a minute. You mean I could just do my thing here? And I think Redman had taught a lot of people in our generation, a lot of the older cats, like, wait a minute, this is how I could do it. I could just do the music and release it by myself. I don't
Yeah.
need these guys. I don't need to do others. I just
It's
need
easy.
to do this and do videos and I could talk to my people.
And he's still relevant.
Yeah.
Like Redman is still
Oh,
relevant.
yeah. All right, we're approaching the last hour of the interview. The final hour. Chat is
It went by
open
so
to,
fast.
I know, to questions. I
Still no
have
FedEx.
Yeah, still no FedEx. I have my first question for Viral Beats because I'm curious because I've suffered from many years of back pain. How did you get your first back injury?
So I always had issues with my back or whatever. On the way. So I'm just checking this again. Michael is on the way. So when I was a kid, I used to have these issues. I call them back attacks, and I had no idea what they were from. It would put me out so much to where my spine would press against my lungs, and I would have to lay on the ground. And I found out later that I was passing kidney stones, and it was my inflamed kidneys that were pushing my lower spine against
and it would happen, once or twice a year, but it would happen and it would just, it would show up in waves and then it would go away, and that would be that. So I did a lot of walking around, though, when I was younger, being locked up at 13, not wanting to follow the rules, having warrants out for my arrest.
Mm-hmm.
I left. And in leaving, if you guys know how big Phoenix is as a place, it is flat and stretched out.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking roads that have 3 lanes on each side.
Yeah.
Like on an average suburb street,
Mm-hmm.
with a bitch lane in the middle. Mm-hmm. It's like, so 6 lanes to drive through. Not all the time, but. So I did a lot of walking, especially with my dad's house being, in Glendale. I did a lot of walking, and that probably didn't help my back any, because I used to walk miles and miles, especially being homeless as a kid. I used to walk and walk and walk. One time, the last time, I'll put this into perspective. The very last time that I walked, the very last time that I turned myself in, I had a warrant out for my arrest. It was after the rave scene. I was getting ready to turn 18. I was like, I better do something about this, or else I'm going to be in the adult system. Then I'm going to be fucked for life.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that the drug thing and the rave thing and everything, it's just a loser situation for me to be in. I wanted to straighten this up because I didn't want to live walking and, doing what I was doing. So when I decided to turn myself in, I had walked from the east side to Glendale, from Glendale all the way to the north side of Phoenix. Now, to put that in perspective, you're talking 20th Street and Indian School to 45th Avenue in Glendale. You're talking miles and miles and miles in a concrete jungle.
Right.
And I walked from there twice that distance north to get to my mom's apartment to turn myself in. I tried to hitchhike it the whole time or whatever. And I knew that doing that, I would be so fucking tired. I would sleep through those first 2 days of being locked up. And by the time I would wake up, I would have my blue shirt on and I have enough points to go face general population.
Mm-hmm.
And I already knew right away they were throwing me in Unit 3. That's where the 17-year-olds go. So they threw me in Unit 3 right away, knowing that, he's going to be in at least. So throw him into Unit 3. I slept a couple days in Unit 3, and all of a sudden, like, hey, welcome back. Oh, fuck you. It's like my 6th time being in, but so as that wasn't bad enough for my back, depending on my shoe situation, I also didn't know about insoles during that time, so I didn't, and rewind it back further than that. I used to bang in Chuck Taylor, so I used to walk in Chukkas.
Oh, jeez.
Canvas.
The
No
most
cushion at
the
all.
most flattest
115
of flat
degrees.
shoes
My shoes-
possible.
Yeah, they would melt. They would melt on the fucking pavement, but they were only $25. But I
Yeah.
didn't realize in that moment how much damage I was doing to my back.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually wasn't until even when I worked at the Bryman School, when I was in post-secondary education for 5 years, I wore Stacey Adams and shit, and I never wore insoles or anything like that. It wasn't until right before going on tour when I was working in the PetSmart's warehouse to where I noticed that I needed some fucking insoles. And by then I was 24 years old, 25 years old. So
damage is done.
Damage.
Well, I when I was 19 and I was working at my desk at the Bryman School, all of a sudden I had a sharp shooting pain down my leg and it wouldn't go away. And I was like, what the fuck? So I went to the doctor. I had health insurance during that time. And he's like, you have normal wear and tear in your back. I was like, oh, it's nothing to worry about. He's like, you're not supposed to have normal wear and tear until your mid-30s. So you have the spine of a 30-year-old man at 19 years old. You got to take care of it. So since then, I went on tour, jumped around on stage, got my,
So since then, you weren't taking care of it.
built 2 shops. So like I really screwed myself up. And what did it for me was after moving up here, I went down to Phoenix because I had to fight a custody battle. And during that time, I needed to find work. And the best thing I could do is landscaping under the table. I was operating a rototiller, and I was tilling my friend's backyard. And it was 2 weeks after that where I developed my first herniated disc in my C6, C7.
Oh,
And I
man.
was lucky enough to where my doctor was like, yo, my wife just went through this. Let me give you her information to where she went.
Yeah.
And he was like, it was the same thing, just the other side. 8 months it took me to heal. That sounds like a FedEx truck.
Da, da,
So yeah, it took 8 months to heal. I came back here, and then I lost my ass in the court battle, so I had to pay child support. Lucky I didn't have to pay back child support because I had shown my receipts that I had been taking care of my son, even though his mom was trying to say that I didn't have any relationship with him. I'm like, who pays for his phone bill?
Yeah.
Who bought his phone? Like, where did all these text messages come from? But they wouldn't let me introduce the text messages, even though they were like flat out spelling out. And even though he had said that he would rather live with me and I was taking better care of him, she showed up with a lawyer. I didn't.
Yep.
Because I didn't have a lawyer in court. And that was the
Well, we know
moment-
all about that.
That's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
That was the third court case that I had been independently without a lawyer, that I had realized at that moment, like, yo, that's what it is. That's why we're losing. Even though the evidence works in our favor and this person broke the law,
Oh,
like
yeah.
if you show up into a courtroom without a lawyer, that judge will have your ass. You automatically lose. So I couldn't afford one anyway. So I had to come back here, which I was going to anyway. It was always in the cards. And I took a job as a janitor in the school. It paid the most.
Yeah.
I did the best, and 2 years of that shit, developed 7 herniated discs after a huge snow that happened here, and it was in April that this snow happened. So it was pretty aggressive, and the district got tired of closures because it had snowed all those times. They had all those closures that year, and they were like, no, we're going to keep it open. So I was tasked with getting all that snow off of the portables and all the ramps and everything. No fucking help from anybody. And because I was a day lead at this point and I was in charge of opening up the school and unlocking it and everything, like I was on my own dealing with this shit. And I felt it. I went to the doctor, and he was like, yo, you're a ticking time bomb. You got to be careful. And I was like, okay, let me just try to maintain at my job. And then I took a weekend. They did some dog training at our junior high, and I worked 2 full days, like 22 hours on a weekend. But I didn't really do anything aggressively manual. It was just that snow that did it. When we were back that week,
Yeah.
it was over. It was over, and then eventually we became homeless, down the road, and that homelessness led me to 11 herniated discs rather than just 7.
Jeez.
So I had 11, not bulging, but herniated discs all at the same time. I had
Yeah.
a walker. I had a cane. I had that cane for 3.5 years. It took me to get through this shit, and roughly, because this is the shit. But once we drove to Nam, that was the first time without, I just got off my cane like 2 weeks before then. And once we drove to Nam and I did all that walking, I was like, I'm fucking healed. Even though I picked up COVID and my back was all
Yeah.
fucked up, I knew
Yeah.
that I could get back into things. I just can't do manual labor anymore, which takes me out of the running for every job in town.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah, because this is a service industry town. So if I don't work in education, I have to work in service-based industry that forces me to be on my back. So
But
this
on
is
a-
all I have to answer the
Yeah.
question about earlier. Like, this is it. The hip-hop thing, the music
Yeah.
thing, the YouTube thing, the all-inclusive. This is it. This is my future.
But on a day-to-day, your back is getting much better now.
No, it's kind of staying steady. It's kind of
okay.
staying steady. But
It's not
It's
getting
ju-
worse.
it's not getting worse.
Good.
Every once in a while, I'll get a bulging disc. Like last week, I dealt with a bulging disc. And
Yeah.
it unbulged and went back in.
Mhm.
I haven't had any herniations.
Oh,
I got
good.
close. I had a bulging disc that was so bad I couldn't go in the roundabouts that get on all the freeways here because it was like really hurting my side. I was like, God damn it,
Yeah.
I need to stay out of the car for a couple days.
Yeah.
Right back in.
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay, Vira, we
Jesus.
have a bunch of rapid questions you're going to have to probably answer
right.
pretty fast because I still have one more topic. Do
Keely's
you have
here.
I
these?
Let's go.
have them. Yep.
Okay.
Short, simple questions. Mike Healy's here.
Well, I don't know if they're short and simple, but answer them short and simple.
I'll try. Just
Okay.
hit me with go afterwards and snap.
yeah.
And
Okay.
if you go and snap, I'll remember it quickly.
Got it. Okay, from Steve. He says, what tracks would VP recommend hip hop wise for someone to listen to as a first listen and specifically to quote unquote get into the genre? Go now.
Damn.
In general, or for me, like my music or hip hop music
No,
to get into hip hop.
hip hop music in general.
God, what a fucking question.
That is a question.
That's a great question.
great
And that's from
question.
Steve.
Now I got to think into what fell me in love with hip hop.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
going to
you
be
can't-
subjective, yeah.
Well, this is the thing. You have to exclude its beginning, even though it was, because that's not what it became.
Mm-hmm.
You have to exclude the golden era because the golden era is also now more of an historical reference, even though people are gravitating towards boom bap and it sets the stage for a lot. I would dig into the late 90s, this era.
Jeez.
Del the Funky Homo Sapien, both sides of the
Oh,
bed.
let's go.
yeah.
Let's go.
And if you were listening to one song, either Offspring
Mm-hmm.
or Press Rewind.
Mm-hmm.
No. Oh, God damn it. What is that song? Dun, 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 dun. It's got that other rapper on it. Oh, man. Fuck, dude. There's like 3 real classic joints on that.
After
would-
the show posted on our Real Hip Hop on Discord, so Steve can grab it from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, what song is that?
Yeah.
He's trying so hard.
And
to
if
do it.
you're-
Signature Slogans, I think is what
Yeah.
it's
And if
called.
you're familiar with the Gorilla,
Dun,
Steve
dun,
Dale,
dun,
the Funky
dun,
Homo
dun,
Sapien,
dun,
starred
dun.
on one of those songs too.
Oh, yeah.
I believe it was the self-titled The Gorillas album, the
Yeah.
first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that album.
Yeah. Hey,
Okay,
happy.
yeah,
That
Julie
saved
said-
Dell's career.
Yeah.
That
I
totally
bet.
saved his career.
Yeah.
If it weren't for
Yeah.
Gorillas,
Yep.
he would have just felt he was already fading to obscurity. He
Yeah,
had
'cause he'd be
something
going
with his
into
ex. He had a-
Deltron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next question is from I sing the body electric. Viral. Are you saying that there's some horrible disconnect between form and content, or between different types of content? And this is in regards to when we were talking about rap or hip hop versus hip hop now versus real hip hop.
The thing is that the powers that be do not understand the culture the way that the culture is meant to be understood. So they are promoting and projecting it from an outsider's perspective. So that's difficulty number 1. And then number 2 is the backlash from that produces a bunch of synthetic MCs that try to replicate the success by replicating the music, not understanding that that in itself is the antithesis of hip hop. Now, the problem with that is when you got people who bite other people's shit and people who have done things in a pretty shady fashion in this industry and just have developed a standard that everybody is used to in the mainstream that doesn't really deserve to be included in hip hop, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're trying to get into the weeds of what is what, I think the biggest problem is the people who've been holding the keys aren't hip hop. They're just venture capitalists trying to make their profit margins, and that's it. They don't care about the music. And this isn't just exclusive to hip hop, but mutually exclusive to hip hop. there's a reason why there's this thought process of it being a young man's game. It isn't because of us MCs. It isn't because of the music. It's because of those motherfuckers. They want to keep people ignorant so they don't understand how to read a contract. They want to keep people ignorant so they keep promoting this narrative that keeps people to this non-understanding conformist level. And there's the discrepancy. It's a them versus us, dog-eat-dog world, and Gen X is now receiving the keys to the castle because those who existed before us, their lives are gone and going away. And so the best we have here are the bad and the good and the ugly. Gen X is about to hold them keys. And with the people who created this music in its truest form to where it belongs are holding the keys to the castle, we get to dictate the narrative and showcase what this culture really means to those who've been involved in it. And I think that is the biggest takeaway from what is currently happening. I think in 2025, everybody's seeing that. It is not completely lost on me on how detrimental people's thought process was about hip-hop last year. And then Kendrick and Drake come up and they're like, oh, hip-hop's back. It's like, fuck out of here with that shit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the amount of people that it has employed within our circle, the amount of, I hate to get on the racial component, but black jobs it's created. You know, it's created an entire other cipher within the hip-hop community that has made this thing special again to people that didn't understand how special it truly is. And I think my trajectory in going to this point and getting to here, I'm no exception to that. That's why I'm doing this shit. I went to the record store instead of doing my sound design on my Mini Freak presets because I had that money in the business account to do so. And I wanted to make sure, you know what? It's a nice day. Let me go for a drive 10, 15 minutes down the road to this record store, see what I can pull. Because I pulled that Biggie record. For those who don't know, my first trip to the record store locally, I pulled an obscure Notorious B.I.G. verse on a record that hadn't been released. It was a promotional record. And I just discovered it live. I was like, oh, shit, a Biggie verse. And it's that magic that has made hip-hop what it has been, even up to this point. This is a 2002 record. I was looking at records in the store yesterday that were 2020, that were straight hip-hop. You mentioned Coast Contra earlier. I could have got a Coast Contra record yesterday. You know, like there's stuff, there's still a community that exists exclusively over here. And because this resurgence of vinyl has existed, it's starting to get people to understand the correlation and the synergy between vinyl and hip-hop. Sampling be damned, the history is here. This is the fucking history. You're not going to find this anywhere other than a record store. There's not even a hyperlink to it.
Right.
Like, and I just found it in Vancouver, Washington.
Of all places.
25 years after last time being into vinyl and this resurgence of not only vinyl, but hip hop, boom bap, right when I'm making this classic hip hop album. This is what I'm doing. This is what we're doing.
It dropped in your lap. All right. Next question is from the Crazy Rabbit. What is your biggest pet peeve?
Thievery.
Oh, good one. Next question is from
wait. Dishonesty, I would put into that more than anything. I would say dishonesty because that kind of covers the thievery thing. I would place that above all else. If you could just put dishonesty and just encompass everything that goes with it. Dishonesty. There you go.
All right. Next question is from Milo. His question is, has Viral Beats ever played NBA Live or NBA 2K games? I love their soundtrack since 98. If he stumbled across them.
Yeah, and actually, it's funny that we're talking about this hip hop shit. That was one of the things that propelled that Both Sides of the Brain record to new heights because If You Must was in Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, I think it was. And a lot of these songs, Dan the Automator did an entire soundtrack for NBA 2K. And I think it was 2002. It was after Deltron 3030. So the answer is yes, I've heard the music. I don't play video games. I used to be a video game head. I still whoop ass in Street Fighter. Every once in a while, I'll revisit Grand Theft Auto. I went through just last week Super Mario 3 for the first time, and I just took my phone and hit the record and played it front to back. I was like, I'm going to play every single level because I usually just skip ahead to the end and do
I
the
love
warp
Super
whistles and all
Mario.
that other
Yeah.
shit.
That's my favorite.
But I was like, okay, well, I'm going to start because, like, I could get through Super Metroid like that, like in under the 3 minutes or whatever, even now, all these years later. But now, I don't play any video games. I every once in a while revisit some nostalgic from Super Nintendo or Nintendo. But, you know, I would rather spend my time with music than waste my time throwing it away on video games or sports, even though I used to play sports and I used to watch
well, you
sports.
probably shouldn't be playing sports right now.
Yeah.
I think you should probably be doing yoga.
But I don't even watch the shit. Like when I watch the Super Bowl, I only watch the performance and that's it. I only watched the halftime performance. I didn't even watch any of the commercials. I just that, none of the sports part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sports.
VP said, I became a huge Gangstar fan of Tony Hawk soundtracks. For those of you who don't know who the guru is, please look that up. He's a
Guru
great
on my channel now.
He's a great introduction into hip hop. Next
Yeah.
question.
Next
Yeah.
question. Crazy Rabbit wants to know, what's your favorite food?
Mexican next.
Okay. Vicky had a question that we passed.
Okay, if Steve can go back and
We
look
passed
that
the
for me,
Vicky
please.
question way back. He had
I
a
love
nice
these questions,
Okay,
by the
Steve-
way. I usually
Steve will
don't have this
get it.
kind of forum
Okay.
that I could speak in.
And then from Steve, there's a question: do you think we are all in a simulation?
No.
Nice.
It's hard to. I think we're in a type of simulation that has been orchestrated by versions of ourselves, non-physically.
Mm-hmm.
So we are technically and logistically, I guess we would be in a simulation, but I don't think we're in an electronic reproduction simulation type that's in a computer and all that other stuff.
Okay.
You know, I believe in there's a hot take. I believe in intelligent design, but not the intelligent design argument of intelligent design.
Okay.
Because there are living organisms that make our body tick. There are cells that are living, breathing, functioning to make us. So we are, by some intellect, being designed and orchestrated and moved around by these things. I just don't feel that it's some like divine, weird type of Ben Stein's version of intelligent design.
Right. So we're not some little kid's project sitting home in a computer, at a computer, and we're like this construct that he created. We're not
No,
some-
I think we're a collective project of a group of all the same soul that has projected around, and I believe and see each other, the good, bad, and the ugly, all as the same people. So I really watch what I say about other people when I say that I don't like somebody as a person, because I know that at a time in my life I was that person. I know that in previous lives I may have been that person, and I know that even with me being as perfect as I can or whatever in where I'm at, that there are still people that aren't going to like me in that fashion, and it's just one of those things. I don't see you as different from me. I believe that we are all a part of the same energy, and this physicality, these avatars that we have been able to create as vessels for each other is us just trying to navigate our way through using the brain part of it so we could get through and have this synergy with our bodies, both physically and non-physically. Until we get to that point, we're going to have these conflicting conversations and such. So there's my
interesting.
answer.
Okay.
Okay, I have a question from VP. He wants to know, was there a particular production technique or a piece of equipment that you feel was your secret weapon?
With the PlayStation MTV music generator. The Boss drum machines, the Dr. Rhythms really changed my perspective, because it was at that moment to where I understood that, like, I need more than just a drum machine. I need a keyboard with a melody. I need to get something that's better than just this generic play a piano type portability thing. Yeah. I don't know. I was introduced to those when I was real young, and I had a DJ friend who had a DR660. And when I learned how to double up hi-hats and do all that stuff, and I was like, oh, so this is how you make that in the drum beats. So I would say, I wouldn't say it's secret sauce, but kind of. Those are like hidden gems.
Yeah.
Secret
Like,
sauce.
yeah, like my friend still has my old DR880. And, yeah. The hell is that?
It's your delivery.
No, it's this kid. Hey, come here. Come here for a sec. What are you listening to? It's like, what the hell is this? Hold on.
I have Becky's question.
Go ahead.
Because Vicky's question is the question my brother and I ask
Usually
a lot.
asks, yeah.
Okay.
And we normally save that for the end. It's funny how Bicky would just come up with the same questions we always ask. Has he not been watching the fucking show?
It's probably a subconscious thing because he's been watching the show. I can save it till last.
Yeah, save it for
Okay,
last because
I'll
it's
save
something we always ask people.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions other than that?
I have one last question from me. When is my birthday jam coming?
Oh,
Are you still asking for the birthday jam?
Yep. My next birthday is coming, and
I
then
was
he owes me
wondering what
too.
you guys did with that other one, because he did one and he thought that would be good with what he did or whatever with the happy birthday monkeys thing. And I was like, that's not, you still got to do another one for her, man.
No. Me.
That's what I was saying. Like, did you
he-
guys hear
he-
that? Did you guys hear what he did for you guys at least?
Yes.
Yeah,
For,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So when is my birthday jam coming? Huh?
Yo, Tussin, come here.
Huh?
Come here. He's got an NPC now. He's going to make your shit extravagant.
He better. I've been waiting long enough.
I know.
My next birthday is going to come around. I still don't have it.
Come here. Oh, God. Introducing the hair.
The hair. Oh. Okay. Again, isn't that freaking Panda?
Oh, God. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I'm sorry.
What's up,
That's
kid?
Panda. That's
She's wondering where her birthday jam is after all this time. Is that gonna be your first project with the NPC?
I thought you were making it because I gave the sons.
Nope. We decided on something else. There you have it. You know, when he was a toddler, he learned how to do cross eyes. All right, get out of here, shirt boy.
Oh, jeez.
He did cross eyes on command. So this little kid, walking around barely knowing how to walk, would go up to these strangers and be like, hey, hit him with the cross eye. He'd be like,
Are there any more
Okay,
questions?
I will make him prioritize that as his first project
Yeah,
on the
you-
NPC and
you
let him take
better.
his time and do whatever he takes with it.
Yeah.
Because I'm just letting him do whatever. I'm setting it up for him and giving it to him. Like, you go in your room with that. I ain't touching that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
We have
I got my
20
own
minutes
NPC.
left.
Okay.
So Bicky's question, and it's often my brother's question and my question. Without any context, this allows us to see where a person is in her or his life as we currently know it. And the question is simple. Who is Cyrus? Outside of the name itself, who are you?
Yeah, Jesus. I don't know. I think I know that at this age. I do actually. You know, it's crazy to understand your trajectory at an early age and just live that truth for so many years of your life. And I knew when I was his age what I was going to be doing with my life. I didn't know at what capacity or how I was going to get there, these journeys and shit in between or whatever. Through and through, you know, let's say the most inappropriate shit, but I won't go there, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just passing through to do some music, y'all.
Okay. Fair enough.
Really, I
Hey,
believe.
I don't know. It's a great answer.
I don't know is a great answer. If you truly don't know, I would stick with I don't know. It is a phenomenal answer.
Well, the thing is here is that I kind of do know.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to sound condescending like that. Like I have figured something out that fucking most people can or whatever. I'm not even comparing myself. I don't know what people think and what they don't think, you know, other than what they tell me. You know, I don't be thinking about other people's thoughts, you know, fuck out of here. I got enough time to manage my own shit.
Right.
But I just say that because I understand that people's taking what I say as arrogance, but there's been this profound understanding within me that this is it for me. I grew up believing the Christian conservative values and that reincarnation wasn't a thing. It was the work of the devil.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I did not even consider it. But as things move on and, you know, you get older, you start studying other religions and stuff like that and start reading through the text of the Bible after, you know, astrally projecting yourself. You look at it differently. And I've read the Bible 3 times in my life. And it's not a page turner to where I'm like reading chapters front to back or anything like that. But I've read every piece of it 3 times. And that 3rd time, you know, there's a point to where they only give you that when you're locked up, no other book. But that 3rd time was after understanding the universe the way that I do, and astral projection, transcendental meditation, the Monroe Institute, MI-Sync, all that stuff. And interpreting the words the way that I did before versus afterwards with such a profound understanding of what the Bible actually means itself and the way it's been bastardized, you know, from its inception, you know, and dictated by the narrative that they projected by excluding some of the books and all that. But what has been included means something different than what they think or thought it means or what people think it means and the way that I thought it meant. But I say that to say this. That is kind of the moment that I realized that, you know, the reincarnation that I've thought about, the things that I thought about, mentally projecting myself to certain moments, some of these things were actual memories, not me just projecting myself because I have a thought or a feeling, because the human mind could play some tricks on you. You could think you're doing something and it's just all in your head, you know? So I didn't trust my own thoughts for a while, you know? Hey, is that them? It's a loud noise. I don't hear no thing. Be on the lookout, little tussin.
Vicky said, I think everyone is reincarnated as everyone else, i.e., we are all the same person. I told Vicky to stop it. I'm going to get nightmares thinking that I was once all of you.
I believe
in
yo,
terms of consciousness.
Yeah.
I subscribe to that very understanding, and there's no deviation from
cosmic
that. I
web.
believe that exact thing.
And that might explain, the whole synchronicity thing too, right?
One thing that I've been noticing, yes, you dead on about that, and something that I've been understanding as of recent, especially getting into all this shit and really getting into my bag and understanding, is that the way that the path is cleared once the understanding is achieved, and then where you need to go in that trajectory is being accomplished with your actions, all this other shit happens. This fucking, you guys, this show, Symptoms of Reality, what you guys became from how you guys started, even though you guys were always there, that energy that you guys put out, and then getting involved through the communication with the music and everything like that, we develop these levels of understanding of our path, and then once we are there with it and walk that path, there's nothing but clearance for us. There may be distractions here and there, but typically those are other people's distractions that we just have to try to work our way through, or try to help, understand what their own path is. But when you specifically have a straight line, and you know that there's a bunch of jagged edges in that straight line, you start understanding and realizing other things. And out of all the things that I've understood about reincarnation and, moving forward and past life regression, even though I haven't done my own inventory on that particularly, so I don't really know what my past lives were, other than every once in a while I'm projected to a moment. Something triggers me to remember something like, I remember experiencing this, that, and the other. This is it for me. I believe in my heart of hearts that this is my last life. That I'm done. And in that's why I end up connecting to other people who it's their last lives as well.
So you think you're moving on from here to a higher reality?
I think I'm done here physically after this. I've had this nagging suspicion my whole life, and it's been the antithesis of everything that I was ever taught to believe growing up. So it's been a huge conflict within me. But understanding this, and from the point of understanding this 20 years ago, it's not like my life hasn't been chaos. It's not like my life has been perfect. But most of these understandings are starting to come to fruition with me being a better communicator on this side of the fence and doing stuff like this YouTube thing. Like, we had talked about doing this interview, like, first at the very beginning, right, before getting things set up. But I'm so grateful for the fact that we're doing it now versus the time then, because just within the time period of that, and just with me and Son doing the Sunday thing, my articulation of my own experiences and being able to communicate better, those objectives are being achieved, and I wasn't even working on them, or I didn't even think I was working on them. I was just trying to get through and fumbling my way through this whole process. But somebody said it to me, and I realized it, and the realization why. And it's my responsibility as a great communicator to learn these lessons and really communicate who I've been, what my life has been, what it means to not only me but to my family, what this music means to me and my family, what the history of me and my family has been, which is why I'm writing my book about my family. Not to get choked up or anything, this whole thing right here, introducing people for the first time into hip hop in its purest form, fucking records and turntables and a microphone. We got these right here.
Tune
you know?
turntables and a microphone.
And an MPC too. This
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Real quick. I don't want to miss these
I'm
comments
knocking
because
my
they're
shit
fucking hilarious.
Okay, hurry.
Gracie says, now I'm half expecting a knock on the door and a future not me demanding all of their sense. Oh, my head hurts now. And then Icing the Body Electric says, just tell them to come back later.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick.
It's great.
Can you tell the story of little Tussin having an outer body experience recently?
Well, it wasn't him. It was my oldest, my 24.
Oh, your oldest. That's right. Okay, go ahead. Tell that story real quick.
He was, so he's been doing a lot of musical soul searching. You know, he's got a lot of stuff going on with that. You know, he's got Yamaha CS5. He's got a Poly-N tracker. He's got a Korg Chaos pad. Or
Does he have a
Chaos
YouTube
oscillator.
channel?
Yes, he does actually.
Can you pin that in the private chat here in StreamYard so we can post
see
it?
his fucking
No,
channel.
yes, we do. Yes, we do.
I'll
Yes, we
have
do.
to find it somewhere. Let me see if you know what. I think I may be subscribed to my own son.
I hope so.
I hope so too. No, he did when he was growing up. He did a lot of posts on here that were kind of like traditional, what you would see through Zeitgeist.
Well, we're not going to judge
you
him
take
and
it off?
finish your
Did you take it?
story because we only
Oh,
have 10
here it
minutes.
is. Okay, all right. Oh, Jesus Christ! Did he put? I think he put the K oscillator thing on there. Yep, that was his last video over there. 66 views. Oh, he's got his Bandcamp up.
Nice.
236 subscribers.
Viral.
I gotcha. I
Okay.
gotcha.
Okay. Thank you.
I was just grabbing
And we
it.
want to hear the story. We only have 10 minutes left.
It wasn't much. It was just he was projected himself into a later moment where it was this profound, complete understanding that he understood the music that he was doing in that moment. And he woke up and was trying to reach back into that to attempt to dictate, kind of like what I was trying to do when I was projecting, you know, in that moment. I was like, yo, let me get some of these bars down because that shit sounded tough the way I was delivering them. Because, you know, it was one of those things. It was just the style that I needed to get further in my, you know, teenage rapping proclivities. But yeah, it was just, here, let me see if I can pull it up.
That's
in
so
the text
crazy
message
because it
here.
was almost kind of like the same experience you had when you were locked up.
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? It's funny that you say that because, oh, look at here. He said, I had a dream about making a grunge song the other night, and it was really good, but I forgot. This is what the conversation was. And then I responded, what I discovered about a lot of those things are premonitions. I had a few experiences come through my life musically. It really bugs you the fuck out. There was one that I haven't experienced yet. It was so vivid, I can actually remember the sound of the song as well as the words. It took place at a Boston-style pub where everyone inside was singing along. That was the other one that I was trying to remember from earlier. I have had this same exact type of experience, but in this situation, we were at a Boston-style pub, all singing along to this song, only this time, I remember the chorus exactly, and I'm able to dictate everything exactly how I remember it in that moment. But it was vivid as hell. It's going to happen. I already know this because this is one of 3 times this has happened in my life. So like having this premonition or whatever, I'm not waiting for the moment to happen. It's just that I know at this point in time, it's at a point to where my music is being celebrated by a group of people who are existing in that moment, celebrating it with me. And I know that sounds really narcissistic and selfish, but it came through in dream form, but just vivid as hell, to where it shot me right back to that moment of me experiencing that when I was locked up and like, oh shit, it's another one of those. I wonder when that's going to happen. But it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. And I realized that throughout all of this, me just turning 43 years old and, you know, not being a young man's game, but there is something to be said about reaching that 50, 60 category. I still have a good 10, 15 years of artistry to get out there, jump around on stage and do whatever, and have a good solid run at music out there in the world. And that's kind of where we're going with this. And I think that that premonition of that happening later on down the road is going to be somewhere peppered within that moment. Maybe me being on tour later on, because I do have to go to Boston to write my book, to finish writing my book, right next to Rhode Island and shit, because my 9th generation great grandfather is dictated on the Church of Boston's ledger there. Upon being
crazy.
accepted on the same exact page as
Jeez.
Anna Hutchinson.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Do you think that there's aliens amongst us, or
Yes.
have You do?
yes. I've said so much in my music.
Mm-hmm.
One book that really has changed my life. It's considered speculative nonfiction because it has yet to be verified. It's about remote viewing. It's about scientific remote viewing. It's called Cosmic Voyage by Dr. Courtney Brown, and he did a follow-up called Cosmic Explorers. He's developed this scientific, because he used to be a political science, he developed this scientific approach towards remote viewing to try to get some of the data from the days of the Stargate program in the government and stuff like that, to where they could dictate some of these things and actually get some information out of it. So there's a lot of stuff that that I was clued into through those books alone, even though they may not be perfect or 100% accurate. It got me on the trajectory of looking up the Monroe Institute, Transcendental Meditation, and all this other stuff. I do believe that extraterrestrials have been involved in our society since the inception. I think all the secrets are buried and exist within China. And I think that there are a lot of things within the U.S. government, as well as other governments across the world, that have direct interactions with these people or beings or whatever. And yeah.
Have you
One of these-
ever go? I'm just trying to cut your answer short here.
That's all right.
Have you ever experienced an apparition or seen a ghost?
Phoenix. Well, I was there for Phoenix Lights. I thought.
Oh, you were there.
right
That's right. You were there for the Phoenix
Yeah.
Lights.
Damn.
Okay. Have you ever seen a ghost?
Seen, no. Felt several times.
Okay. And I would love to get into that, but real quick, the Phoenix Lights, you were there to witness that?
Yeah, it was during that time period that I was telling you that we were working at Precision Research, and we had actually drove from the north side of Phoenix, which is I-17 in like Deer Valley area, all the way up north. And it actually went through the entire city. So every single neighborhood saw the Phoenix Lights. It wasn't just some thing that was over here in the distance and could have been, it flew over the entire fucking state. Like, it wasn't something that was buried within and could have been construed as this. I remember specifically looking up and seeing them by the mountains in Deer Valley. I was like, oh shit, that's crazy. There's fucking 7 of them. Like, oh shit, there's like, it's like, oh, dude, that's bugged out. And it looked like a force that was coming up through the mountains or whatever. And we're like, oh, shit, that's bugged out. But we were driving on the freeway during that time, and it was right above us by the time we were driving and shit. And when I was at my house and shit, we had seen it go over, and it was like, yeah, that was real bugged out, and it really pissed everybody off that Governor Fife Symington came out there with that fucking dude dressed in an alien robe talking about we
Right,
found
yeah.
him, and all that
Yeah.
other bullshit.
That's
But
He
yeah.
mocked everybody.
He
But
mocked
But
everybody.
then Fife Simonton came back and said he saw it too, and he totally believed that
He
it
wrote
was
a book
real.
about it
He
afterwards.
wrote a book about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
For those of
Fucking
you
piece
who
of shit.
for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, it's probably the biggest
Sorry.
UFO story ever.
Seen by how
10,000
many
people witnessed it. They all believed that it was something that was not from this world. It was this huge, gigantic, triangular craft that flew overhead. Viral Beach lived in Phoenix. He saw it himself. Check it out. There's many great documentaries on it.
Yeah.
James
Video
Fox
cameras were a
does the
thing.
best one. Yeah.
People caught it.
And
That's
and no,
insane.
Gracie, I don't think he's ever had a ghost punch him in the dick. For crying out loud. What kind of show do you think this is?
I may have.
Okay, 3 minutes left. Get Jervis is on right after us.
And then right after Get Jervis is Viral Beats.
Viral Beats. And
Yeah.
I Am the One Son.
Yep.
Please go check out Viral Show. His Sunday shows are great. The wife and I always, when we leave the studio, we're always more than likely cooking and listening to everyone's stuff. That's what we'll be doing with Get Jervis.
Yeah, I usually have my phone and my tablet up so I can have all the streams.
Right.
Glad we're back on the same time zones. We were stomping on them for a couple weeks there.
Yeah,
Like, come on,
right.
man.
Yeah.
Get it together, daylight.
Come on,
savings.
UK, hurry up with your time.
But the
change.
wife and I are into the habit of now we're just going to go back and watch things instead of trying to catch them live and break our necks to do,
Yeah.
Yeah.
although lives are great and you can get in there and chat with the community, we're just, it's hard now. We have weird time schedules, so we're just going back to watch shows if we can't catch them. Pretty much, if you're new here, everyone inside this comment section has a channel. They're an artist. Check every one of us out.
We're the real cool kids club.
Yeah,
this-
exactly.
This is a phenomenal community. The hardware jam community is in here. The pub, Viral Beats community, the Renegades from Synth Summarize area. There's just so many different people here.
We'll definitely have
great.
Viral back
Love it.
second, third, maybe even a
Yeah,
fourth time.
and I know my
'cause his,
brother wants to be here.
story is crazy.
Right. He's got so much to tell us that we're missing. But I really want you guys to go to Viral Beats channel if you really want to hear the long version of his youth and where and how he handled certain situations. You have to go
Yeah, he
and
did
listen to it.
three videos?
A
when you-
3-part, wasn't it?
It
a
was
three?
it was 2 videos, 9 hours just about a piece, and I still have to go through and edit all of those painstakingly. It's just been too much shit going on.
Yeah.
I'm just following the course because like there's so many darts to throw at a board. It's like I'm just trying to go with the flow of the universe, and that's where getting all this. And I hear a FedEx truck. Perfect
just
timing.
Perfect timing.
Wow, look
Yeah.
at that.
Oh, yeah.
You've been
It
hearing
was
that
the
FedEx
universe.
truck all fucking
It's
day.
here.
If you ask
I
me.
fucking hear that shit. It's right fucking here.
Yay.
Okay.
Yo,
thank
you hear that shit?
Thank you for
This
everyone.
is right here.
Thank you to
Time to get your
everyone who
MPC,
showed
son.
up. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Viral, for coming.
Monday will be live after Hardware Jams. If you do not know what Hardware Jams is, look them up on YouTube. If you're not jamming, that's the place you need to go and back
And
in your
jam.
studio and start to jam.
Do it for Inky.
Do it for Inky. Shit, do it for Gracie.
I swear, I think
Do it
about
for
her
yourself.
every time
Do it
I'm
for
on this
yourself.
MPC one. I'm like,
Yeah.
Inky fucking love this shit. No
Yeah.
wonder why. I'm always like, no wonder why she loved this shit so
Yeah.
much. And it's like,
Yeah,
all
her
these
and
other
Dom.
reasons.
Her and Dom did a whole class on the MPC, didn't they?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
they did.
yeah.
Showing Kent and all them.
Showing Kent, yeah, we're
That's
showing
awesome.
Dom, yeah.
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 Yeah,
Dope.
I remember watching that. So check out Dawlish Jams. He's new.
Take care, everybody.
He's new with this family.
Bye, Viral.
So get in there and click away.
Viral went to go get his NPC.
he wants that
He
NPC.
didn't even leave.
Yeah,
He's
well,
like, fuck
I
it.
know the area he lives in, so he's gonna hurry up
he
and get
needs
that
to,
NPC. Yeah.
Oh, there
Fucker
it
didn't
is.
even knock.
He just left it
didn't
there?
even knock. Just
Jeez,
left it there. Yeah.
That's scary. All righty.
All right, everybody.
We will see you later.
Thank you for showing
Take care, y'all.
Bye.